Welcome to the Casual Shooters Podcast, your premier podcast for the casual shooter. And I'm your host, David Riddle. Okay, so for this episode, we have a returning guest, but since the last time I've had him on, he has done a deep dive into analyzing scores in order to improve not just scores, but times, like breaking down every segment of a stage for shooting purposes and figuring out exactly where he can shave time down and how to do it. So we're going to have a conversation about that. So basically it's a nerd out on stage times and every segment thereof. So we're going to bring Mr. Alex Tex Cate back on. So if you would give me a round of applause for him. How you doing, Alex?
I'm good, man. How are you?
Good. All right. We've already done all the intro stuff before, so we don't need to do that again.
Right.
Unless you want to be the guinea pig for the new questions.
Go for it. Why not? You know
Okay.
I can, man. Go for it.
All right. You asked for it. Hold on just a second. I created new questions. Oh, you know what? I know where they're at. They are in my Google Drive.
Oh, I was about to say bathroom on the notepad right by the toilet paper. No,
Yeah, that's where I get my best notes in.
that's where I have mine. I'm just saying.
There we go. New icebreaker questions. Okay, here we go. Brand new. Nobody's ever seen these.
All right.
You're going to be the very first one. So, question number one. If you could learn one shooting skill instantly, so think Neo in the Matrix where they had him plugged in, what would it be and why?
I'd curve a bullet like in Wanted, if that counts. Like if I can use that as an answer, it would be the Wanted bullet curve because
okay, all right, I'll go with that.
Having to go all the way to that far position, if I could just whip two and around, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
Movie, so everything else, like John Wick, to normal people, we all already do all of that. So it's like that's what like your regular people would choose, but I got to go a little bit higher than that into some more unrealistic stuff.
Okay. Question number two. If you could have a superpower, what would it be?
Fly. Be able to fly.
I think that's going to be the most popular one, because I'm the same way.
Yeah, because traffic sucks and people are irritating. So, time's a factor. If I could just up and, swoop and go everywhere, I'd be able to get so much more done without drive time.
Although I have thought about being like speedy like the Flash.
Yeah.
Because thinking about that for shooting purposes,
point, because it's like even though like Nils is 6'7", he still can't shoot over the walls. So it's like I don't
correct.
Think fly over from position to position. It might be a little bit against competitive equity. I don't know.
Right, and then how fast would that be? If you're the Flash, probably faster on the ground. Just zip.
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah, that's for shooting sports. Yeah, that's definitely the one. It'd be bad Deadshot, right, from DC, that Will Smith's character from Suicide Squad, where they said, oh, here's a gun, shoot it, and he ripped a full magazine of a full auto AR and a pistol and just put a red circle through the middle of the steel because it all went in the exact same spot. That also might be useful.
Okay. I have not seen that movie, so I do not.
I
do not know of said skill.
Deadshot was just basically like the Deadpool, I guess you could say, but without the more of a serious version from the DC universe. And he was just a human who was superhuman in nature of ability to shoot guns.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay. What is a food you will never get tired of?
My homemade Chipotle chicken.
So you make it yourself?
Yeah.
Did you make up the recipe yourself, or?
Yep. So okay. I found a recipe. That was always my favorite thing, and I've been in the trades for so long. And I bodybuilded for a long time, so there's very particular things that I'd be willing to eat when I'm on the go. Even today, I don't eat fast food. I just can't do it. But Chipotle and Qdoba and stuff, I could get basically a type of meal that I would have made at home, minus the fact that it's super high in sodium. But eventually I got tired of getting it 2, 3 times a week and realized I need to just start making this, because I can make 10 meals worth of this for like $15 instead of each meal being $15. So
Right.
yeah, I could eat my little Chipotle bowls every single day. That or steak, but who doesn't like steak?
People that aren't American.
Yes, un-American people.
Yeah, un-American people, exactly. Those anti-Americans.
Oh,
If you could have a dinner with one person other than your spouse, significant other, phrase that however you like, who would it be?
oh man, that is a hard question for someone like me.
Oh,
Um, if I had to just on the fly pick somebody, it would have been probably Marchenko before he died. But
ooh,
he's passed now. So, but yeah, I would have loved to have sat down with him. I actually have a buddy who did stunt coordination in Hollywood for a little while, and he got to learn from him on multiple occasions for a handful of movies, including I believe I'm not positive here. I'm pretty sure they to help them with their parts for the movie. He was one of the guys who got burnt. Like the actual actors got in the hospital for 5 months. The explosion happens on the outside. They were not all supposed to go off, and everyone. But yeah, I guess March like did like gun handling stuff with them prior. I guess that's what he was doing towards the end of life, was he was doing a lot of training for actors and stuff as positive teaching military.
you would have dinner with Dick Marchenko, former
Yep.
Navy SEAL, created SEAL Team 6. For those who don't know who Marchenko is, now we know.
Yep. Exactly.
Okay.
That guy. Yep.
And you were saying something about when your audio was cutting in and out about an individual who got burnt and had to spend 5 months in the hospital.
Oh yeah, no, I got to hear a lot about Dick because a buddy of mine who was a stunt double. He did a
Mm.
lot of Hollywood for a while. He's a real good friend of mine from back here at home. And we stayed in really good touch while he was out in California working. And during the Bumblebee movie, for anyone who's seen it, if you remember when the Decepticons show up and just basically hit all the Humvees on the side of the mountain and all the Humvees start flipping over, that was not supposed to happen like that. That was a failed explosion that they used in the movie.
Oh,
It was supposed to
wow.
be one, then two, then three, and all three went at the same time. Him and some other stunt doubles got seriously, seriously burnt, and it actually ended his career as a stunt double.
Wow.
Yeah,
Holy cow.
but before that, he was taught by Dick Marchenko. That was like the last person that he had gotten to go and work with. Um, then he worked knife fighting, gun handling, and just actual hand to hand combat stuff. And it was for their roles being on John Cena's team during the Bumblebee movie.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah,
Goodness gracious.
random side story, but I'm full of those.
Well, everybody loves a little story, so it's all good. It's entertaining, so it's good.
Yeah, we always got
All right.
stories to share, man. Share our experiences, right?
There you
Or
go.
somebody else's, one or the other.
Exactly. If money were no object, what would you be doing right now?
What I'm doing.
Okay. So you
Yep,
wouldn't
same
change
shit.
anything to what you're doing.
I mean, I raced cars, and that's what got me. I race guns now. That's the only other thing I guess it would be I would have probably pushed racing harder. I wanted to be a driver from the day I was 2, 3 years old. I running around the house, and when I didn't have a Dale Earnhardt jersey or shirt, because mom or dad wouldn't get me one, I took a marker and just put a big three on my chest and would run around the house with my arms out like a plane, which makes no sense to NASCAR, but fast forward 18 years and, I almost went into the Air Force Academy to fly planes. So it was all about going fast anyway. So that's the only other thing that I can imagine I would be doing, is I would have pursued racing. And I stopped racing because it is who has, you got to have money. It's not about effort, work ethic, or otherwise. It is about being able to continuously fix a car, build a car, keep it out there, travel. That's the most expensive thing I ever did, to be honest with you.
Oh, I believe it. I totally believe that. Yeah. I mean, I did some rifle competition stuff, and that's expensive, but that doesn't compare. I don't think there's any sport that's as expensive as that. I don't know, maybe dragster, but you know,
Yeah, dragster definitely for sure because those guys replace engines in between runs. Like your real
oh,
oh yeah, your uh pro if drawing a blank on what the league's called, but yeah, your pro drag racing, most of those cars get their engines like they do a run, they go right back to the trailer, they pull that engine out, put a whole new engine in and go. Not everybody, but a lot of guys do that. So they'll bring 4 or 5 engines to a drag event.
good lord.
Yeah.
Wow. Well, those are all the new icebreaker questions. Now, the one big one I had that was different than you was I said shooting. So what's one skill would I learn instantly? And my answer would be shooting accurately on the move at any speed.
That's a good one.
That's a good one.
That is a good one. Yeah, you could be sprinting down a lane and just pop, pop, pop,
And
pop, pop,
and
pop, pop, pop.
then be as fast as the flash.
Yeah,
Now good luck beating
yeah,
me.
yeah. No kidding. No one's ever gonna beat you. But the only thing there is they're probably gonna put in rules that says you can't play anymore at that point.
They would. Yeah, I would get
Yeah,
banned for sure.
exactly. It'd be like no superhumans allowed.
All right. So there we go. So you got tested out on the new questions.
Hey, they were good ones, man. I like it. Definitely keep those. Those are good ones.
All right. Now, as we were saying, or as I was saying in the introduction, you've been doing a deep dive recently. I guess it's just a part of expanding what you're doing.
Yeah. And speaking of racing, um, I really actually finally just took a step back and really looked at everything. Um, I have been, like I've told you, I've been coaching and teaching athletes for over a decade now. And I've always used these things. I'm someone who's really good at using when I can put my full mental capacity into somebody else. I've always been better at that. And I've had to learn over this past year to be able to put that same level of capacity into myself. Where I used to say to myself, well, I don't have someone behind me watching, so I can only see what I can see. No, that was a short-sighted thought. It really was. Now you see, I use a drone even when I'm training because, and some people say, oh, you're just putting up cameras. I'm looking for every angle I can get. Now, on top of that, obviously, I love media, and that's been doing really well. And you guys also really helped inspire me to continue to push that like I have been. You and Jay and
Hmm.
them, seeing what you guys do, I love, and Wolf and everything you guys do. Like one of these days, I would love to help you guys, like bring out my drone and just be a part of Casual Shooters and Practical Shooters Live and just help you guys, broadcast a match just because I love what you guys do and I love media. And I love sharing this sport. But all in all, back to my point here, I use all of that so that I can truly see. And that's why I started with the cameras in the first place. Like some people may think I just was trying to make videos. I mean, that too was what came after the fact. But I started with the cameras because I needed to be able to analyze what I was doing. And years after doing so, it's like I started to realize I was coming to like a balance, or not a balance, but like a
Plateau.
standstill. Yeah,
Yeah.
plateau of not being able to really know what I needed to do next to move forward. And I then spent all of this past spring and summer just smashing Bernstein's hammer. And for those who don't know what Bernstein's hammer is, that refers essentially to the practice of heavy repetition until you can't do it wrong. The idealism was that a blacksmith's hammer would always strike the same spot every single time, right? Well, our game is constantly variable. You very hardly ever do anything that is uniform. Steel Challenge would be a great example of something where Bernstein's hammer can work out because it is the same set of things all the time. It's predictable. So I realized that although in dry fire and in training, these things that I did repetitively, I could do really well. I then went to a major and was like, all right, let's do it. Wait a minute. Wait a minute. Hold on. None of this feels right. Well, why? Because I started practicing this standing straight up. And now I just started in a position leaning on my right hip. That emits a difference. That is a different motor solution. So I started to really look back into how I used to train athletes back in the day when it came to bodybuilding. And then I looked at how I used to try to get faster on the track racing, right? It's all about tenths. Oh, wait a minute. Isn't our game all about tenths,
Sure
right?
is.
It sure is. It's all about efficiency. And then I was watching, I went and saw the F1 movie, which new favorite movie. Holy crap. As a F1 diehard, I have watched that movie almost like every night since it came out on streaming or came out for me to buy. I bought it. It goes on every night as I'm going to bed. I love it. Absolutely love it. But he starts saying they're in a room and they're having their pre-race meeting, and he says he starts pointing around the room, and he's like, "We can get a tenth from you, a tenth from you, a tenth from you, a tenth from you, and a tenth from you." He's pointing at pit crew. He's pointing at everybody, right? That puts us a whole second ahead. That's how we win this race. I'm like, wait a minute.
Ding, ding,
Epiphany,
ding,
right?
ding, ding, ding,
It's
ding.
like midnight. I hopped out of bed, came up here to my dojo and studio, and just started. I was going to about 2:30 in the morning when I go, "Oh, you got to get up at 5:30, buddy. You got work." And was like, but this was worth it. And all I could think about for the next 5, 6 days, I have never been so excited in my shooting career. The last time I can remember being this excited was like the first time I got to go to nationals, or the first time I got to shoot a match where I knew what I was doing, I guess. But even then, like any of us, a lot of us, there's so many shooters out there that work so hard. I'm one of many. I just really try to do my due diligence for myself. And I believe that my commitment and dedication allows me, with the time that I do have, not that I have any time at all, but the time that I do commit, I'm able to kind of figure these things out and try to help other shooters as well with it. I'm just a open book. As you know, I like to share every bit of my journey along the way. And I teach at the same time, but I don't teach for money. Although, you still a business, but I never did it for that reason. I do it because I want to share what I've learned. I've never been someone who's safeguards, what I find out. I'd be a horrible CIA agent. I'd be horrible because every time I figured something out, I'd want to tell people about it. It doesn't mean, I can keep a secret, but that's not a secret. It's the reality is when I figured this stuff out and I started implementing CLA and differential learning, which is stuff that I used to learn back in the, or use very heavily back in the day. It really started to open up these doors after, like we said, such a long series of a plateau of doing repetition and seeing, anyone will feel the way if you really work your absolute butt off for 6, 8 months on something, and then you go to perform it and it doesn't work at all. That can be a very, very big factor that takes a lot of people out of a lot of sports
Yeah.
because
Oh, sure.
they tried so hard for so long and then it didn't happen. Me, I
They
don't know
assume
when to
that's their
quit.
ceiling. Yeah.
Exactly. And it isn't. It just means that you haven't found the heavy enough hammer to break through that ceiling, right? And I knew this. So I started really looking at breaking everything down. So I went out and started with just setting up a 5 yard, a 10 yard, a 15, a 20, a 25 yard target and doing 6 sets of just draw, put two, and two alphas, only shooting good, never shooting anything outside of what I can do, because prior to, a lot of people, they get sucked into the speed, but even your B class shooter and up, we're all great shooters. Like at the end of the day, we are all great shooters. Once you basically hit that high B class, we all essentially can shoot great. Like you put a pop can out at 50 yards, anybody can hit it with the right level of patience if you're B class and up, in my opinion, right? The reality is not about the speed of a shooter, but I found that it's so much more about how smart you are as a shooter, the decisions you make. There is something to be said about raw speed, but I spent the whole 2024 of everybody telling me, everyone I looked up to, and the people who were, trying to lift me up, a lot of big name shooters, and I'm so grateful for them. And they're like, dude, you were just so fast, so fast. And I'm like, yeah, but I'm 2 to 3 seconds behind. What do you mean I'm so fast? Like, I believe them. Okay, so then they see that I'm this fast, but what am I not doing and what am I not harnessing within my speed to be able to have a good performance at a high speed? We all know running around as fast as you can and shooting might look good on camera, but it's not going to look good on the scores. right? So I had to really, and it's hard for a lot of people to do. And even for myself, it wasn't easy for me either to have to completely break the mold that I had spent the last 4 years creating and break it all down, pretty much scrap it all and rebuild it, finding what actually works from what I've been doing before and to get rid of the stuff that doesn't. So, like I said, I set up all of these random targets that I would face in any given match or array. I set up certain arrays that I saw I did a hair slower than other guys, and I collected data. So I just sat there and I did it forwards, backwards. And I do 3 to 4 times each, writing everything down, move on to the next one, evaluate it later. Did it at 5 yards, at 10 yards. Then it was 2 targets. Then it was 3 targets. Then it was two with a steal in the middle. Then it was one, no shoot, one, open control, open. And what I was able to figure out is that there is a consistency that all of us can do. And a lot of us destroy that consistency with this 1% of our brain saying we got to push. And Steve Anderson and those guys are really big on the Lanny Basham book, right, which is with winning in mind. And Lanny
Right.
talks very heavily about being process oriented and not outcome oriented. And that's
Right.
what I found that I really was prior to, is I was so worried about my end score, I wasn't just focusing on shot to shot, position to position, target to target. So I would rush things in between thinking that, I'm behind time, or ooh, I was supposed to do that faster. No, because then I started to look at the top three shooters at a match. Say it was Aaron Edens, Greg Clement, Jay Beal, right? And I'll sit there and watch them all run the same stage because I've never been one who really cared to watch and see what other people are doing because I don't ever want to copy. I'll only look and pay attention when I'm trying to analyze and see what's going on, right? And I noticed that if you look at the top 10 shooters at a match, almost every one of them are doing something a little different than the other.
100%.
You don't see them all doing the exact same thing. It's also why I don't follow other people's stage plans. I follow my own. And although even last year I was told by, a higher level shooter, hey, your stage plans are your lowest hanging fruit. And I'm like, I hear you, but thanks. But you don't know what I'm trying to figure out here. And he was right. He was right. But it was because I was intentionally making that way to figure out what's working and what doesn't, what I can do and what I can't, trying not to overreach and extend myself. I thought all the way back to my years of hockey. What the number one thing, two things that your coach always told you to do: never skate with your head down, right? Which isn't relevant to shooting, but
No, but
yeah,
good
no, but
advice.
yeah, don't skate with your head down. Don't run with your head down either, right? But and the other one was don't reach. Never overextend your body, because when you overextend your body, you no longer have control of your body. So if I'm trying to reach around a wall like this to shoot something because I think it's faster, I actually picked up from good old Tom Castro. I've gotten a lot of advice from him over the years as well. I've tried to take as much as I can from everybody and never a lot from
Right.
one person. And Tom is very big on body positioning and your body being right before you shoot. So I started to look at that. I'd come into that position, shoot that way, did it 5, 6 times on that one target, noticed a pattern. It's coming up on like where I guess it would be this way from your angle, right? It was coming up on an angle and recoiling at the angle of my body. So I
Right.
said, all right, well, let me try this again and let's do it off of a hit factor basis. And let me back up to that position and be patient about my body, make sure my body's in good position, and then shoot it. And that next 6 sets was 12 alphas in the same time as before, because I sacrificed a half a second to make sure my body was positioned correctly. And what that allowed for me was to shoot actually a hair faster without having to fight a bad body position, right? So it's
Right.
figuring out what the trade-offs, what's worth what. Risk versus reward. Obviously, you hear that from the highest level guys, and that never goes away. That only as you get to a higher level, I've found it really becomes more and more relevant in every little action you do. But you also need to figure out what is your no risk shooting. You know what I mean? Know what your baseline is. And that is something that I hadn't created prior to. Like I knew what my draw kind of was, I knew what my reload was, I knew I could transition, within ish this time from this to this at this distance, but I didn't know, right? I have a whiteboard in my room now, and it's color coded. and everything. And it has averages. And it is averages based on after I get back from the match. I will go through my video. When I get home from a match, say I'm home at 3, I will not stop analyzing that match until about 10 o'clock at night. I spend the entirety of that day doing it because what did that match do for someone like me when I need this level of analytics? If I'm not actually sitting there analyzing it, if I'm not going to do it with the intent to figure out how to do better, I'm just shooting, right? And I want to be a champion. I will be a champion. And this is why. This is what I have to tell myself every day when I wake up every day, right? And that's why, I'm determined to get where I'm going. And that's why I'm willing and able to put this much time into it because I care that much, right? And I understand, that's a lot for a lot of people. Like I showed you that video and I said I took it off Instagram because I realized that's a lot. That it's just so much to digest,
It
right?
was. Yeah.
Yeah. And I knew that. And like I say in that first description there, I'm like, look, I understand even reading this is going to make almost no sense to you. But that's almost what I'm trying to show you. I'm trying to show you that, before me figuring this out, I would have looked at it the same way like, bro, that is too much. You do not need to do all of that. And not that everybody has to. But I found that I did. I needed that because I need to know exactly where I stand to be confident about what I'm doing so that I can be confident about my process. And this allowed me to never feel walking up to any stage that, ooh, I got to be quick there. Ooh, I got to be quick there. Now, this is where I was finally able to start using hit factor math, which is probably
Okay.
the most it's probably the hardest thing that I would say. I would say it's probably the most advanced skill that I have found. And I'm not, where I'm not at the top. So I'm going to continue to learn, and those guys could tell me, what I haven't found yet. But as far as what I have found thus far in my exploration, let's put it this way, Dave. Prior to doing this, I sucked at classifiers because I would put so much pressure on myself because I was outcome oriented. I did this training session and I'd only shot like 2 classifiers total this year. I don't get to that many locals. And when I do, there's very often classifier stages at the ones I do shoot. But I ran into one that was. I walked up to it and said, "Oh, this is a classifier. Cool. Well, this is a great opportunity for me to see where I stand now that I have a baseline." Did you see that run by chance, Dave?
I don't know if I did.
I ran 101.4% run on Deja Vu.
Oh, actually, I think I saw the post.
Yeah.
Um, there we go. Have you, s- while there's a lull here, have you seen the video? Here, I'm actually going to do this. That's not the one. Let's switch. Oh, why is it not sharing the screen? It disappeared. Interesting. What if I go? That's wild. It's not sharing the screen now. Anyway, there is a video. Let me go back to the regular screen. There is a video that Eric Raffel and JJ Rakaza did at SHOT Show 2 years ago. So it would have been what, 2023. And
Okay.
it's just about hit factor strategy.
I need to watch this.
Yeah, and I watched it briefly, like I was doing other stuff, so it was in the background before. But I feel like what you're saying here, that is an advanced skill that if more people knew and had a better understanding, it might change their strategy. You know what I
Right.
mean? And the whole way they look at
Yeah.
stages differently.
I know, and I won't say who. I don't remember. It was one of our big GMs. It was, Justin Anderson or David Wampler. It was one of those guys was telling me that when Eric came down for the class this past year, thank you. So I'm sweating. I had to have my little fan brought up. Um, when Eric Raffel came and hosted his yearly class after the Extreme GM. After the Extreme GM, he hosted his class down at Volusia, I believe it was. He straight up looked at them all and said, "This is why you Americans lose." And they were like, "Why?" Because you guys don't know hit factor math. He told that whole
Really?
group right there, like, that's all your top GMs. And, it was one of them who told me this, right? So it's, don't take me verbatim. It's just one of them who was sharing the story with me. And he was like, it's so important. And once I started figuring out, that you have a baseline of how you shoot, and then you choose when you're willing to sacrifice accuracy to gain a little bit of speed, but only when you can guarantee that is going to benefit you, right? Not, well, I'm going
Right.
to go fast through there because I think I can gain time. Well, how do you know it's going to gain you, right? You need to be able to figure that out. Now, I I still to this day can't share his name and who it is, but it's someone who was a very, very, very winning person in our game when it first came around. Um, who hasn't done it many, many years. It's been 20 plus years since they did this.
Mm.
And I was very fortunate to get to sit down with him because he does not live very far from me. And I got to talk with him. And the basis of what he had told me, and it was he didn't want to sit down with me. The reality was, one of my sponsors knew him and really vouched for me and did a lot. So I'm super grateful for that. Most people never get this opportunity, but he told me, Tex, you need to be able to walk up to any given stage. And this was a year and a half ago, he told me this. You need to be able to walk up to any stage and know exactly within a second how long it would take you to do it. And he said, you get back with me when you figure that out. Well, I did call him about 2 months ago and we had a great conversation because it took me that long to, like, I understood what he meant, but I didn't truly understand how to apply it. And
I don't know.
I know he was trying to, he didn't want to help me because he knows, as a guy who has won as much as he's won, he knows, just like any top guy, they know, like, that little thing, those little things you got to figure out there's a reason why there's only so many people up there, right? Because it takes a lot of breaking yourself down to do it. And a lot of people, it's hard to do that because they're doing well. Why would they break it down and start to point out what they can't just to find what they can? But I started over this last couple of months. I went up and shot a local match with my buddies, and one of them knew that I've been doing this. So he's like, "All right, Tex, how long is this stage gonna take?" And I just, I looked at it all, I walked it around, and then I did what Tim Herron actually, something that I found that Tim Herron does, another thing. The more I've learned this, the more I'm starting to see all of these extremely veteran shooters, and I'm like, ah, that's what you've been doing. Because now I see. I'm not just watching what they're doing. I understand what they're doing now and what they're trying to do. And Tim Herron had said, I will go and look at it, get an idea, and then I'll start a timer on my phone and just leisurely kind of walk the stage realistically. And it'll tell me, kind of where I'm supposed to be at, which then can tell me what the hit factor likely is supposed to be here. But you can't create that based on a how do I put it? A theoretical. Like, it's not as theoretical as I thought it used to be. That's not what you're determining there. It's not the theoretical time this should take. It's really how much time it should take based on the data you have, right? It's kind of like knowing I can draw in a second. Okay, so I can shoot that target, and be off of it in 1.2 because I know I can shoot a 5 yard open target with point 0.2 splits accurately for alphas. Okay, but what about moving 8 feet? What about moving 4 feet? What about entering on a port on steel? And I don't remember the gentleman's name. I want to say they said his name was Oshi or something like that. I have no idea, but it was a guy who used to really break this down so in depth that, like, by the time you got to the end of the stage, the math equation was so high, it was
Oof.
just ridiculous, right? And you can't
Right.
grasp it. And this guy could, but and I'm picking this up from Tim's podcast talking about this. Tim Herron's awesome. I love listening to him. Um, any of the leaders in this sport, but yeah, it was all about being able to look at it, and I realized too, listening to him talk about this, um, and it really, really showed what I was doing wrong before. And it was, I think this stage would take me this on. No, I can walk up to a stage now. And like I said, I was at the match with my buddy. He walked 3 stages with me, and then we shot the match together. After the first one, when they called my time, I unloaded my gun, showed clear. And as they called out the time, I gave him one of these. It was within zero point 0.2 seconds of my estimated time. And
Oh wow.
I told him I would throw two Charlies and where I'd throw them. And they went exactly where I told them they would. Now, at this match, this was probably the highest, most consistent level that I have shot at any given match in my career. And it was just a big 8 stage local, our biggest one in Detroit Metro over at Raccoon Hunters. Yeah, that's what it's called, but it's sweet. Um, Guy who runs that has been in this game for 20 plus years, so he puts on some awesome matches. That's where pretty much, I guess you could say, the more of the all of the high level guys from the east side of Michigan all kind of show up, and we get to kind of battle it out. It's the only matches I go to where I get to battle it out point for point with other guys, which is awesome. That is an experience that I never knew would feel so good until you actually rose up with your buddies and everyone started getting better. Everyone's helping each other out to a point to where one mistake here and there, and we're getting to experience what JJ and Nils and Mason Lane and all those guys experience fighting each other at nationals, right? And we got a little taste of it at a local match, where at the end of the match, after 8 stages, we were all the exact we were all 124 seconds, all three of us,
Wow.
124 point something, right? And I had shot a no shoot, so it put me in third. um the second place had shot a delta, and then our buddy who took first had no deltas and no shoots, so he took it. But our time was all the same, and it came down to one shot each that made the difference,
Wow.
right? Now, all three of us kind of have a really good grasp on this data baseline that I came to find. And it was pretty crazy to see three, master level shooters all being able to shoot at the same level of consistency without talking. And we had different stage plans, Dave. That was the craziest part. The three of us shot three completely different stage plans this entire match. So there's
I'm
another
actually
thing.
not surprised
Yeah, right? And I started to
because
notice.
everybody has their own strengths, you know?
Exactly. JJ said it best to me. He was like, I was talking to him about risk for first reward when I was kind of trying to figure this out. And JJ just goes, bro, you are way too good to not be like focusing on risk first reward. And I'm like, yeah, that's a really good point, man. I guess let me take a look at this. Let me take a step back. Hold on, JJ. And I'm like, holy crap! I watched my whole Area 8 match, which was just a nightmare for me. And that was the biggest thing that flipped everything for me. Was Area 8. Area 8 humbled me
Oh.
so hard that and I got to shoot with Tom and DJ, and DJ's a very good friend of mine, a big supporter in my corner. I could never thank that guy enough for how much he's helped me learn and so on throughout the years here. But I got to shoot with those guys and Matt Tucker and just a lot of really awesome shooters, to where I luckily didn't spend that match beating myself up. Now I did have two moments where I probably got more upset than I've ever gotten after a stage. And that taught me something. Because after the match, I look back and I'm like, hold on, man. Hold on. That's not you. What made you be this way? And what do we need to change to stop this from happening? I forgot to load a mag, Dave. I reloaded to a
Wow.
mag on that double swinger stage and went dry after 4 shots. Oh, trust me,
Oh
I
my
heard it. I
gosh.
heard it the rest of the day. Don't worry. But it was Tom
Yeah,
going,
but
"Hey,
that's so
maybe
frustrating
remember
when
to."
you
Yeah,
it's self-inflicted, so that makes it worse, you
yeah,
know?
and even more so, like Tanner Donges, who is also a very good friend of mine. We're really good at hyping each other up during the match, and he had come over to watch me and Ryan shoot, and I hated that I turned around and like I actually threw a mag into the berm. I have never ever done nothing like that, but I was so upset that I was like, "You've got to be kidding me!" And I whipped it at the berm. And Tanner, who is someone who is just, if you know Tanner, he's a cop for Cleveland. He's the last cop you ever want to run from. That dude will absolutely maul you down like a bull, right? And I watched him so calmly go over, pick my mag up. He dusted it off and he handed
Wow.
it to me, and he said, "Don't do that."
Good
So
for
it was
him.
something like don't do that. You know what I mean? He's like, you got this. You'll be all right, man. Type deal. He's like, we have these days. And obviously this was the pent up frustration of the 6 to 8 months of Bernstein's hammer. And like I had heard another guy went GM because we put in 10 sessions a week. So what was I doing? 10, 12 sessions a week. Is training every single day, every single day. Now I also learned that that's not conducive either. Right. It's not about how hard you can hit it. It's about how, again, back to the how smart you can do it.
It's
Right.
quality over quantity.
Right. Hell, I even
Yeah.
changed how I draw, man. I've been scoop drawing for 5 years. Isaac McLearn and I had a really good conversation about this because he posted a video like 2 weeks after I started doing this. And I had to message him and I'm like, dude, I, yes, snatch, snatch, snatch draw because him and I have kind of been able to, fortunate enough to kind of grow with each other, which has been awesome. And I watched him really take a huge jump this year. So I did reach out to him and say, what are you doing? What am I not doing? And so on. And after you've asked enough people that question, you realize no one can figure that out for you. To get to that, like any G who's ever gotten to that GM level had to figure something out for themselves, right? Going back to the strengths and then back to my baseline, knowing what you can do well, which is why I created the baseline. And the baseline data now allows me to know, okay, well, if I hammer and I know this speed, this speed, this speed, now I know what it feels like if I'm rushing that speed, and I can confidently shoot two alphas at that speed all the time. So I can look at a stage and say, okay, what is my all alpha time? And that is what I found that I truly needed when it came to stage planning. Not how fast can I do this and hopefully get these good hits. No, how fast can I shoot all alphas on this stage? Okay. Obviously, all alphas in that time is not conducive to the hit factor. So, hit factor math, right? Where can I give up points where the time will make it up for me? Or where can I give up time to gain points? High hit factor stage, mid hit factor stage, low hit factor stage. But all in all, like I could talk about this for, if anyone watching this wants to see kind of what I'm talking about, if you check out my YouTube channel, Atex Cate, I did a training analytics video like we were talking about earlier in this podcast here, and it's a lot. But when you look at it, it'll just give you a perspective on how in depth I had to get to create this for myself. Yep, there it is right there. And what I found, all in all, I went into this session knowing I'm 2.5 to 3 seconds behind. I shoot a lot with my buddy Greg Clement, amazing shooter. This year and last year, we've kind of come that I'm his lucky charm because he seems to always win when we shoot together, which has been true. 3, 4 majors in a row, something like that. So we try to, stick together a little bit at times. And, he's very good at looking at what I'm doing and kind of telling me, this is what it looks like. And I was being told I was shooting scared. And it was because I wasn't confidently doing what I know I can do. And then I was looking at his time. Yes, he's an open shooter, but either way, I should still be no less than a second behind him. Why am I 3? We shot a Michigan sectional stage. Dave, I was 9 seconds behind him. 9.
Now,
And
did
I
you
was,
have did you have video of each of you to go, here's where the
yep.
difference was? Okay.
Yep. So that's luckily I've been able to do that since Area 8 back in 2024. We shot that together when he won his first division win in limited optics. And I had all the video from both, and I was able to put us next to each other to start looking. But back then, I didn't truly understand. Like I knew, but I didn't, right? It's like you think you know, but if it's not working, you probably need to know a little more. You need to elaborate, right? It's like trying to get more power out of a car. You can't just keep throwing higher levels of octane in there, right? You got to start changing some other things to allow for that to be applied, right?
Right.
So that same aspect comes into play. And those 2 to 3 seconds, I'm like, I can't just run faster and shoot faster all the time. That's
No.
that's not going to
Gotta
work,
have a better strategy than that.
Exactly. And like I was saying earlier, when people are telling me, "Hey, you're just so fast," I'm like, "Okay, but why am I 3 seconds behind?"
Then why am
So,
I so
like,
slow?
right? Why am I so slow? It's all about efficiency, right? And we've always all known that's
100%.
the first thing you're told when you get into USPSA, IPSC, IDPA, any of it. It's all about efficiency, right? So I found that my biggest problem was makeup shots. And that's a given, right? Makeups is, I'd say I found is the number one easiest way to kill your stage. Is by once you've taken more than one makeup shot, you just ruined your time. You might as well just make sure you shoot out all alphas from here. Is kind of what I've come to find, at least for myself, because I would have three, four makeup shots in a stage. Well, you add that up along with the lack of confidence that comes from that, because you're now making up shots all over the place, which might include making up an alpha with an alpha just because you didn't think it felt right. Well, that's
Right.
not very efficient shooting, is it? That's erratic shooting.
It is.
It's not repeatable, right? So I had to create the process that I can use on every stage. And I used to think that meant my make ready, right? And like how I prepped. So I got that down. And I when I first figured that out, I went and took a second class at Buckeye. And I was like, all right, cool. That was my best placement ever. And then it went downhill from there. Then I did it again this year. Second at South Carolina, went downhill, right? Why is this happening 2 years in a row? I, I don't understand. I need to change something because obviously what I've been doing the last 2 years is creating the same outcome. Well, it's because we've only thought about the process of how we get prep for a stage, and we've not really put time into the process of executing a stage. We've just practiced shooting targets, moving from position to position, maybe entries, exits, and all the good stuff, but those are all the little nuances. So what big thing that did change is, as you see in this video, like there, I literally have calculus on there. I
You
literally
do.
show the deltas and how it all maths out, because that is how in depth I had to get to truly be able to apply it, right? I needed to understand it. I needed to understand every aspect of it.
Okay. Now this is pretty in depth, and I think for some people they have to learn as they go to figure it out on their own. They can't if they're told it, then it's not going to help them.
Yeah,
But for someone who, like you said, high level B and above, they can shoot anything. They can do the skill. They just can't necessarily put it all together into the correct package.
right.
But for someone who is, like, we'll say somewhere between 65 and 80, I'll just use that big gap there. How should they start altering? I don't even want to say altering their training. I'll use that term for now, but I know it's not right.
Say expanding.
Okay, expanding their training or changing their training, whatever they need to do in order to start going more towards this type of thing. Like, how do they start making that transition?
I would say the easiest thing to do, just to make it simple, is to look at anything. So I looked at stage 12 of area 5. It was the red port. You had an open through the port and a no shoot, and then a hard, almost 120-degree transition to a hard cover target that was about 20 yards away. So I thought I had a really good run on that stage, and I did. But I knew when I was looking at it, it just seems like something slower. So I looked at Donovan's run, I looked at Tanner's run, and I saw pop pop or pop 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 pop, and I went pop 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 pop. Could hear a significant difference there, right? So I worked that, just that array, right? Starting simple with something that I saw I wanted to do a certain way. Well, I saw the speed and accuracy that the guys I'm trying to shoot at their level were doing and said, okay, I want to either see if I can do it that way or see what I can do to get out of there in the same time. So for a B class shooter, it might be, you know, say your far targets are your low hanging fruit and coming to a close one, which was a problem I've had in the past. Be going from controlled to speed type deal. It is getting your data. So say draw, don't worry about your draw. Figure out what time it takes you to shoot two alphas in that target and figure out what the transition is to shoot two alphas on this closer target. Okay. So say you are point 4, point 4, point 7 transition, point 2, point 2. Well, the point 4 and point 2, that is your baseline skill. That is what you're able to shoot alphas at. Don't shoot faster. Do the things in between faster. So find that manageable time in between actions that you can work on. So it might be me taking one shot and snapping to this close one. And what I'm trying to do is create that motor solution for my brain to know I can move there that quickly. Because instead of trying to say, I just need to shoot these 4 shots and 2 targets faster, well, that's not a conducive, intentional constraint in training. And like I say, CLA, when I talk about CLA training, it's constraint and adaptation. So, it might mean that I tell myself, okay, on this run, you're going to, the second that second trigger pull is there, regardless of shot call, you're going to push the gun here. You're not going to verify or level 2 confirmation that you're going to push it. You're going to push it. You're going to push it. Well, now I've created, without thinking of that first thing, without thinking of my shot at the second thing, all I've done is worry about the in between, right? And like I said earlier with F1, a tenth here, a tenth there, a tenth there. So instead of saying, I want to make that transition, zero point 0.5, like 0.4, that's unrealistic. Don't push it to a point to where it makes now the next baseline action difficult to do. You're trying to shoot good and do everything else fast, right? It's like the most said advice about USPSA shooting. Control this, fast everything else. So you got to keep that in mind. You are always controlling this. You're not really going to speed up target shooting once you're past B class. You're going to speed up transition time, how soon you shoot, how soon you leave, and the efficiency in between. So again, back to that, and I know again it does get a little elaborate, but the simplification of this: focus on the thing you can manage, not the things that you can't. Don't start adding a whole level of more statistic to start to read, as in shitty hits on that far target, shitty hits on this close one, because now you're thinking about other things rather than the transition. So I might pull up on that far target and shoot 2 really slow, controlled shots. I'm not worried about my speed. I'm worried about the transition. So it might go pop, 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 although I can go pop, 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 pop. I'm not trying to do that because why am I pushing the envelope on something I'm not trying to gain, right? We want to keep that the same. The transition is where we can make it. So looking at your stage time, the biggest thing anyone can look at when looking at your video is how much lag time do you have? Whether it's after a final shot on a position, how soon are you leaving? Coming into a position, are you settling and then shooting? That's manageable time. It has nothing to do with your actual shooting. It is purely efficiency of movement, include even your transitions. That's efficiency of movement to me. You're moving the gun to the next target. Separate what you can manage from what is shooting. Does that make sense?
Sure. And let me say this. Let me make a quick note to the listeners who are only listening to the audio portion. When he said control this, I know I'm doing it now,
Oh,
but
yeah.
he's saying control your trigger finger, manage everything else.
It's like if you get into it, like Tom Castro is a big advocate for it. And it's, if you watch him shoot, you notice in every position that man's body is the same. His body is almost the exact same no matter what position he's in. And then you see him do everything else quickly, right? Well, there's something to be noted when you watch that. And it is that is someone who knows that how they have their body position and their body language affects their shooting. Well, if once you're in position, it's all about shooting, why would you take anything away if you don't have to? That's where the risk versus reward comes in. So, Tom, for example, doesn't emit any high risk as far as once he's in a position shooting unless he is retreating or entering. He makes the shooting good all the time, and he makes up time everywhere else. I think that truly was the biggest thing that allowed me to advance my shooting and be able to be able to see manageable growth to where I could actually see that it's happening, because you can shoot 5 matches against 5 different groups of people and be first, third, fifth, 10th, first. That's not an accurate way of judging your skill. is by looking at your placement at a match because you don't know if the other shooters, showed up with an injury that day. That's
Right.
just, it's too many uncontrolled variables. So control what you can and don't control what you can't. Don't try to control what you can't, which is trying to shoot while I'm leaning out like completely sideways. That is me trying to control something that has way too many variables going on. Now, variables still matters. Like once you get past all of that, how to create more motor solutions to be able to effectively use these things, right? So say it's that far to close target. Now it's two steals. Now it's too close. We have so many different types of target array that we can see. There's not just that one far open to close open that I'm trying to increase the transition on, right? And I'm not trying to transition so fast that this close one gets Charlie's. So it has to be not trying to gain all your time in one action, but again, the F1 term, a tenth here, a tenth here, a tenth here. And as you saw in that video that you pulled up, I did the full breakdown and said, I needed to find 2.5 seconds. I found it. Here it is. And it had nothing to do with shooting. It had everything to do with intent between actions and making sure I focus on that and nothing else. So shooting, and the only thing that I'm intentional about is one particular thing. And it is, for this run here, my number one thing was after that second shot, spot dot shot. Bang spot dot shot. Bang spot dot shot. So when I went and ran that classifier, Dave, I just walked up there and said, I'm just going to shoot alphas as fast as I can shoot alphas. I'm not going to worry about shooting fast. I'm just going to, when the dot comes there, I'll pull the trigger. And I ran 101.4% run. And it was just like, it's not about speed, it's about efficiency, right? Like I will continue to reiterate. But I found that here in learning that if you try to have intent of, again, the outcome, I need to do this whole thing fast and get all these alphas. No, I just need to go in here and shoot good. And maybe when I'm going from, this middle position you see here on the screen to the back right, maybe I put a little bit more oomph in my step and accept a couple Charlies on that close one to enter sooner, right? And that is one manageable action across, say, a 24 round stage. I'm not trying to do 24 rounds too fast. I picked one thing that I'm going to sacrifice and one intentional physical signal that I'm going to use to make sure that I stay on pace, stay on par, and stay shooting good. And it is that Mark Schulte put this in my head, by the way, Bigfoot spot dot shot. As long as I follow that rule, like again, Castro says, shoot when your sights tell you you can, right? It's these
Right.
common things that you realize are really just hammered on by these top guys. And if we listen enough and you try to apply it to yourself with actual intent, you'll start to see what they mean. And that it is actually that simple. Because the biggest lie I was ever told is it's not that simple. Yes, it is. We just oversimplify, overcomplicate everything as humans.
We do. I don't think it's that simple to grasp
No.
because if it was, then everybody would be doing it. You know what I mean?
Yes. Yeah.
I think that's the part where it's not that simple. Like how many you hear that all the time,
Right.
don't shoot what you can't see,
Right.
but we do it all the time
Yeah.
anyway. So it's a matter of putting it into practice. That's the hard part.
Yeah. And then you learn to keep it simple, right? Well, like KISS. Like I worked on cars and I've been in construction for so long. Like the most common term I've ever heard is KISS. Keep it
Right.
simple, stupid. Right.
Yep.
And
Yep.
I'm not sure why it took me this long to apply that to my shooting. I just kept it so separate, but it really, at least the intent of keeping it simple, right? I'm anyone who shot with me knows that like I can be a crackhead out there, like is the way I describe it, where I'm just so jittery, so high energy. I was overcomplicating everything. Simplify it, trust what you can do, manage what you can manage, sacrifice only what you can efficiently sacrifice, and stop trying to sacrifice the whole damn stage for this unreasonable outcome. right? And that is, I guess, what I mean by keeping it simple and learning to simplify it and not overcomplicate it all, which is easy to do. Like your score,
Oh, sure. Yeah.
like I know it's probably not the best language here, but like we call score whoring, right? The people who sit there on their phone and look at everybody's scores the entire match, and I will never do that. I
Me
can't do
either.
that. I can't be worried about what anybody else is doing but me because I am way too focused on these things, right? If I'm worried about how Aaron Eden shot it with his open gun, wait a minute. So what? I'm about to come out here and try to be Aaron? I can't. I'm Alex. I'm Tex. I'm not Aaron. Aaron's Aaron. Tex is Tex. So trying to follow what other people do, no. Pick up on the concepts of the things they do, right? So
Well, I also think that takes you out of the mindset of you. I think the problem there is you can, if you're not disciplined enough, you will become outcome focused versus
yes,
staying in the process.
absolutely.
So that Jay Beal does not look at them throughout the day. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, and I like that there are some shooters that legitimately, well, most of them really won't look at those scores. They just keep doing what they need to do.
Yep. Anytime I've looked, anytime I look, Dave, like I think I did it twice. We're like halfway through like a sectional. I just looked and I both times it happened, I shot myself in the foot just so badly because I literally told myself, "Holy crap, man, you are behind pace. You need to pick it up." So what do you think I did those next 5 stages, man?
Yep. Rush, try,
Yep.
hurry. I think
Yep.
Steve Anderson calls it.
Yep. You know what's funny too? Another one of those where you start to realize those big names, like you're kind of figuring out, like it's not like I know what I'm figuring out is nothing groundbreaking and new. It is just my form of how I figured out what everybody above me figured out, right?
Right.
Um, because I hit up speaking of Greg again, I hit up Greg and I'm like, dude, so I read this book and I took all these notes on. I got 30 pages of notes. Dude, you got to check this book out. It changed everything for me. He goes, what's it called? I said, it's called How to Make a Move. He sends me like the eye roll thing. He goes, bro, that's the book Steve Anderson teaches out of. And I'm like, well, that makes sense now, doesn't it?
Wow.
I never took a class from Steve. He came locally and I really wanted to. But obviously, with my like how busy I am, a lot of times it just doesn't work out, and I really wish it would. Travis is coming up here next weekend, and I poked at him like, hey, if someone bails, I will take the spot that I couldn't commit 6 months ago. Um,
Right.
but like I really want to get, and I took a Stoger class back in the day, which did a lot for me. But even then, he pushes a concept that doesn't work for me, and it's the speed concept. It's the speed and trust, and like I'm with that and I support what he teaches. And he hell, and one of the best shooters to ever do this. I'm not saying anything. It just for
Right.
me, I found that I needed a little bit different of I overthink things too much and I have to find a balance because just trusting it all the time will just have me running my ass off, rush, try, hurry at that point and saying, oh, well, if I look there, it's just going to go there. Unfortunately, that's not actually how it works. You know, you still have to do a lot of other things right. You can't just look there and wanted sling the gun and it goes there as much as we'd love for it to. But yeah,
Right.
I realized that these guys kind of he teaches the same thing, and I'm like, okay, so that tells me I'm on to something. That I found something for myself just through my own research, and it turns out other very successful people in this game also see that resource as something extremely valuable. Um, And even with my clients, I had two clients that I started implementing this with to female tactical games athletes. And they took first and second place this past weekend at the regionals in Ohio.
Wow.
So not only did this work for me, but I immediately deployed it in two of my private clients who had a major coming up. And Dave, I damn near shed a tear when I saw that. Because not only does that tell me what I'm doing is working for me, but it's also telling me that I can help other people with it, right? And any of us, a lot of us instructors, we, like I said, we do it because we love it. We do it because we want to help people. because we want to share, we want to grow our community. Um, and obviously, I have my clients and I care about them. I only take on so many. I only take on about four private clients at a time because I don't do the just teaching you. And, if you aren't putting in the work on your end, I won't have you as a private, I won't privately coach you, because that's just what I'm good at is analyzing, breaking down, and finding ways to gain. Right. But all in all, setting a baseline for these two allowed them to know exactly what they could do when they were fatigued, which came into a variability aspect and adaptability aspect. But setting them up with a process actually allowed them to very heavily adapt to an ever changing environment. And that's like what you're seeing here with the stage. Not only was I collecting data, but I was very much so focused on not repeating anything. So as you see these two runs here, I pretty much changed. I don't think I ran a single way of this stage more than two times, without changing something drastically. And that even went from me grabbing my PCC and running it with my PCC. And as you see in this run here, I ended up running the same time. But what you notice is that there were certain things I did faster with one that I did slower with the other, right? And that shows you an example of how almost two different shooters would be, because I'm having to do two different motor solutions based on having a long gun versus a pistol. But at the end of the run, the hits were the same, and the time was in, I think, within a half a second between those two runs. But you notice with one, I left that first position held a half a second earlier. But then with the other one, I left that middle position a half a second earlier, and it evened out. So that is also just a testament to the fact that a single stage plan and watching that Christian Sailor did it this way, that doesn't mean you doing it that way is going to yield the same result.
No.
Not at all.
Nobody should ever look at someone else's stage plan and go, I'm going to use his.
No.
You know what I mean? Like now, if his stage plan works for you because you walked the stage and you looked at different, aspects of it and different ways to shoot it, okay, that's one thing. Maybe you guys end up with the same stage plan.
Right.
That's not unusual, but you can't,
Yeah.
I don't, I learned that very early on that I don't care what Dave Wampler is doing beside me
Right.
unless I see him doing something that I just totally missed. You know what I
Right.
mean? Like, if
Yeah.
I'm like, oh crap, I didn't even see that. All right, maybe I need to redo my plan. But
I've done that. Oh, wait, there's
otherwise,
a target there? Oh, hold
yeah,
on. Hold
you're
on. Let
right.
me.
Whoop, we need to start from scratch. Yeah,
I've 100% been there multiple times.
yeah. I mean, I've learned that I have to plan out my stage based on my strengths and how I can shoot it. So,
Exactly.
but I will say, going back to earlier, and you're talking about efficiency, I think that's why Seiler is the best shooter right now. Is that dude? When you watch him shoot, he's just very efficient. There is
Hmm.
no extra movement. There's no extra. There's no lagging. There's
Nope.
nothing. It's just very crisp and
He
constantly
found
moving.
he found those point tens in between
He sure
everything and
did.
how to eliminate them, right?
Yeah.
And he was another one that I was watching his training videos and stuff like that and seeing what he's doing. And I'm like, I notice he does all stages too. So, I was implementing stages. I'm like, all right, this is good. How? Okay, what are we trying to accomplish here? Right. Okay, so I'm going to run it forward. I'm going to run it backwards. I'm going to run it in the middle. And although I am starting this in different spots, I need to make sure that I enter every one of these positions the same way, even though I'm coming from a different direction. To be able to make that, it's like you've heard before the three-step entry. I think that's JJ's thing. I'm not sure. I don't know if you have any insight on that.
I'm not sure.
But yeah, I've heard back in when I first started the game, I had heard the three-step entry, right? And it was the land inside foot, second foot has the gun up, third foot comes down, you shoot. Now I haven't put in a single thought into mind of that in years because that didn't work for me. I was stepping too hard. I found I needed to do a little bit more of the crash, right? But there's that too, right? How you enter a position, how your body is. Everybody's bodies are different doing this, right? There's that too. Like look at you and me, Dave. We're two different cookie cutter cuts for the Christmas cookies. You know what I mean?
Yep.
I anyone who expects you and I to do the exact same thing the exact same way, even if you and I can stand next to each other and shoot a plate rack at the exact same speed from draw, well, now we're moving. You know, and although I may be a speed guy, my hip, I have a bad hip. My hip gets thrown out once a week. I pretty much have to have my chiropractor put my hip back in place and a rib back in place almost weekly basis.
Goodness gracious.
Yeah, that's not fun. And I've been dealing with a very heavy medical issue this whole year. Another reason why you might notice I'm much skinnier than I used to be. Um, but you know, those things in general like have changed how I've had to go about my game. And that means that I may have to do this thing where you'll say, "Oh, why are you doing that? Because this works." Well, nor am I going to say what's going on with my body on here either. Will I even say it to somebody I don't know out in the range there? You know what I mean? And they don't need to. And at the end of the day, you shouldn't even be worrying about it. Just worry about what you can do, right? At the end of the
A-
day, do what you can do.
Absolutely. I mean, Mason Lane, national champion, Christian Seiler, national champion, Justine Williams, uh, ladies national champion, very high level shooter. All three different body types, all three move differently.
Yep.
You know what I mean? They
Right.
you can't build your game off of somebody else. You've got to do what works for you. You've got to figure out what works for you and then play to that strength.
Yep. 100%, man. I mean,
Yeah.
Mark Schulte, that's one I like to use an example a lot,
Yeah.
right? He's 6'7". And that dude, like, if you think you have to be like small, skinny, and in shape to win matches, look at David, right? Wampler. Look at Mark Schulte, right? And it's like they aren't like they're in shape for their size because they can still do it all. But like you've heard it as well. You know, I hear often from when I teach classes or different clients, like, "Oh, I can't do that kind of stuff. I'm out of shape, or I'm this. I'm not like you." Like, and I love showing them David because David's such a freak to me. Like, he is that dude who breaks the mold across the board. That shows it's not about your athletic ability comes into play, but it is not fully about your overall athletic ability. It is how you use your own ability.
How about Tim Dundery?
Yeah, oh yeah, Tanfo Timmy. That's another great
Yeah.
example. Hell, he runs like he's like Sonic the Hedgehog. I like to call him when he moves.
Dude, I
If
was at PCSL Nationals and somebody said that guy's not supposed to be able to move like that. I was like, well, he did.
and he does all the time. You
And he
know,
does.
Tim.
Yeah.
Those two guys are serious, the perfect examples of it. You know, it's and I use them as perfect examples of quit your excuses to people all the time more than anything. You know, and outside of that, just you know, want to make sure that I mention those two are two guys that I have always that have just seriously, constantly shown that a lot of things are possible, regardless of what you may think are, and especially by looking at people and judging them by their cover, right?
Yep. Which will
Athletes
get
in
you in
general.
trouble.
Yes, it
Yeah.
will. You never know. You know, I just had a really good conversation leading up to this podcast. My buddy who basically has been teaching. He taught hundreds of thousands of A&A during the GWAT, and now he teaches full time now. And him and he just called me just to sit there and talk about, you know, the stuff that I've been putting out and the content of it all, and that he truly was. He was just sitting there trying to tell me, hey, keep doing what you're doing because that is what people need to see. People need to see that you can unapologetically just do you, just be you, do you, your way. And that you do not need to worry about what anybody else thinks about your shooting, or they think about how you're stage planning, or think about any of those things. Take your ego out of it and put all your ego back into you and invest in yourself, right? We put all this time into it for ourselves, not for other people, right? And at the end of the day, as you continue to grow, the right people will push you, support you, and compete with you. And at all in all, what he was getting at by calling me and telling me that was, you know, verifying to me that, you know, I'm on the right path here as far as going back to everything we've been talking about here of not doing what anybody else is doing, not worrying about anybody thinks about what you're doing. Like, don't let those people come up to you in your stage plan and say, hey, you shouldn't do it like this. You should do it like this. You can let them and say, thank you so much. I appreciate your insight and keep doing what you're doing. If you want to take a look at it, take a look at it. But just because another guy, because you see this a lot, and it's not a dog on anybody, because really guys are just trying to help. That's really what it is. I've done it before. I've gone up to a friend and been like, hey, if you do this here, it'll help. But I found over time, maybe they're not there yet. Maybe they don't really know how to blend those things together yet. And all you did was come in here and throw a whole other factor at them. They may still be just sitting here
Yeah.
trying to remember where all the targets are. And you just
Yeah.
said, hey, if you exit here and enter hard here and stop on that steel and then move on this target, they're like, you know what I
And
mean?
again, it goes back to comprehension. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, yeah. So
So
I want to go back for a minute. I was actually going to start with this, but we quickly got into everything else. But you also put out a motivational video on your YouTube, and there's something you wrote in there that I want to ask you about.
what you got?
It says the vision that drives me forward, winning national titles in practical shooting, and ultimately chasing Olympic opportunities in another discipline in my 30s.
Yes, sir.
What are we talking about here?
So I think like we talked about a little bit in our first podcast of kind of how I grew up and always wanting to represent this country. And back then it was in more of a service aspect. But nowadays, like ever since I saw someone that I called a friend wearing a jersey that said USA on it, I've not stopped, honestly, not stopped thinking about it since. Um I was when I was pushing in bodybuilding, I was going for, going pro and so I've always been pushing for just the highest level of whatever I'm doing. When I was racing cars, I had gone to SEMA and got in with the Formula Drift guys, and I was trying to make my way into the Formula Drift leagues. But I've also noticed that all of these things were just, in reality, not high enough for what I had spent my entire childhood trying to become. I always was that kid that wanted to watch every bit of the Olympics. I loved it. I just thought seeing athletes at the absolute highest of level is something that I only that at the time I'd say I can only dream of. And as I got older and started realizing that I had capabilities, as any athlete does, some do, some don't, some never realize that they have capabilities. It could be a bad coach, the wrong sport, it doesn't matter. But I have found, and especially with all of this that, I've done now, um, I've been saying it for years that I want to represent this country in one way or another. I'm going to apply for delegation at the least for the next World Shoot, just for an opportunity to be a part of it. But past that, I have started to kind of set things into place to get into 25-meter rapid. I do every once in a while, probably every third or fourth training session, I will set up 25 yards, especially if there's steel challenge out on the range, and I will do table start single-handed 25-meter. I mean, I don't have a full 25, and I wanted to see, where am I at with a center fire pistol, compared to these Olympic guys. I was not as far off as I ever thought I would be.
And they're shooting 22, correct?
They are. So then I
Yeah.
had my buddy bring out his Volquartsen, and I did it with that. And I realized that I was only 2.5 seconds behind these people. That's manageable, right? Based on everything that I was just talking about, right? That's manageable. For something that I don't train and don't work regularly, that's manageable. And a lot of, like I say in that video, in the very beginning, it's hard, right? And that's where a lot of people get lost trying to do something unique. It's hard. Stop looking
Right.
at it as hard. It's everything's hard. Life's hard, right? Life's complicated. Everything's hard. It's all about how you manage the difficulty. Manage your expectations, manage the difficulty. Don't look at the whole thing as difficult because then it seems unreachable. But if you take every difficult movement and find a manageable way to work on it, you can accomplish it. Now, I very much so look up, and Lonnie Oakley, Lonnie Barnes, seeing what she has done in shooting sports, and I said, I want to do that. I am a multi-athlete person. I have played and done so many things. I am anyone who's like, I'm that guy in people's stories that is the dude who's lived more lives than you could ever imagine. It's also why, I'm going 120, 130 hours a week. But it's because I also know I can commit that hard to things, and I know how dedicated I am to things. And that at this point in my life, I have found the things that I truly know I'm going to spend the rest of my life doing. Um, and I don't half-ass anything in my life. I never have. So I will absolutely be trying to over these next couple of years. My main focus is still getting to the GM competitive level here in USPSA, and past that, as soon as I feel that I'll know when the time is. But as soon as I feel that the time is, I won't leave USPSA, but I will continue to do it. And then leading up to the 2032 Olympics is my goal. By 2028, I want to have had some good practice, gone down to, I'm trying to figure out what ranges are out there. If anyone listens to this is into this stuff, I would love some insight. Any information you could share with me, I would love. I don't really have anybody around me that's done it. My best friend's dad was an NRL 22 shooter in the Olympics, so I have a little bit of insight of places, but not much because that was 30 years ago. Um, but yeah, man, no, I am trying to make a difference in our community, in the aspect of showing people that some kid who came from nothing can do it too. I wasn't special. I'm not gifted. I don't have no, extra bones or extra muscles or, I was never that dude who just picked up everything was good. Anything and any sport I ever did, if I was good at it, it was because you saw me in the background training 5 times as hard as everybody else. In high school, football, I went to school at 5 in the morning to work out. By 6, I was doing sprints around the building. By 6:30, I was in the shower and then went to school like everybody else and then went to practice after work. Or sorry, went to practice after school and then went to work after practice every single day. Um, I was not a starter at all, but I sure made myself into one. And it was because I pushed as hard as I possibly could to see, if I work harder than everybody, or at least work as hard as I can possibly imagine, because it's never about anybody else. But I like to tell myself I am working as hard as anybody. And if you find someone who's working harder than me, I want to meet them because I want some insight and I'd love to learn from them because I want to be on their level. Not, oh no, that's too much. No, no, no. I want to get there. If I'm not there, I want to get there type deal. Again, I'm someone with, no wife, no kids, no nothing like that. So I have this opportunity. And I think a lot of people lose that opportunity in their lives. And I think that I am just been blessed with not only the want, will, and determination to do so, but also with the life. It may not be a huge, I don't have the financial backing for it, but I have the will to create it. And that's why I knew when I told myself a year, I said, after a year, if you still feel this way, you're going to take the next step. And that was 2 years ago. So now I still feel that way. I still want to do it, but I also know I'm going to focus on what I'm doing now and get to a level of accomplishment here. And then I will start to blend a little bit more there. I even took a step back from 3 gun and multi gun because it just was too much on top of how much effort I'm putting into this right now, along
Right.
with everything else in media. I mean, you know what editing and putting all that together takes. So, um, but yeah, no, I have absolute aspirations for the Olympics. I'm trying to truly show people and inspire people along the way. And I am so, so, so damn grateful that even up to this point, I have had, even if a few people tell me that I pushed them into starting this sport or I inspired them to go as far as they have with it. So I know I know my purpose is there and the goal is being accomplished. Why would I stop?
Yeah, and I think sometimes using the word hard may not be. It's definitely requires a lot of effort, and I think it all comes down because nothing's easy,
No.
But I think it all comes down to willingness. How willing are you
Yeah.
to put in the effort that is necessary to get you to, not you necessarily, I'm just talking in
Right.
general, but
Yeah.
to get to that point that people talk about wanting to be at. And some people aren't willing to do that.
Right.
And that's fine, but if you are, I mean, in my lifetime, the greatest athlete I saw that was able to do that was Michael Jordan.
Yep.
He just and he goes all the way back to his failure in the 10th grade where he got cut from the basketball team. And now
Yep.
look at him. He's in that GOAT conversation. For me, he is the GOAT
He
just
is.
because I think psychologically, mentally, there has been nobody that has willed his team to win, put the team on his back and carried them when they couldn't do it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
Absolutely.
there's nobody like that. But I mean, that was his drive. He was willing to do more than anybody else. So I think Tiger
Exactly.
Woods at one point was in that same exact
He was.
mindset.
He was. That's one thing that I have paid a lot of attention to is champion athletes. Um, and I found that that is kind of across the board on everybody. Every single champion athlete, like whoever got that big, at some point they said, I'm going to be this. And people left. Now, why did they become that? Because no matter how anybody else thought about it, they believed in it every day, every single day. And that to me is like the first step of that becoming a possibility, is truly believing you can do it. And I remember when I first started shooting, I remember there was guys around me actually saying, yeah, but none of us are ever going to get to that level. Why would you say that?
You just have to put in the time and the effort.
Yeah, why would you say that? What makes you think that we can't? And I told some of these guys, many years ago when we started shooting together, well, that's where I'm going, and I won't stop till I get there. And then when I ran that 101% DM run, I'm not gonna lie, I sent it to them and like, hey, look at this, guys, this I did it. Like I'm starting to figure it out. Obviously, if I was able, like, I didn't zero to hero that, and the second I run my next classifier, it's gonna be another one because I figured out how to accomplish it. And I'll tell you what, man, those guys haven't wanted to shoot with me since.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, yeah, but it is what it is. I'm in Michigan, man. Like, f you, it's not my job. Was created here. We got to remember that the union, right?
Okay.
Screw you, not my
Okay.
job.
Yeah.
So you got to
Right.
understand, I'm not dogging on the people here, but there is a cultural thing that comes to that being a completely very heavily blue collar dependent city, right? Where people will look at you because you say you can do more and they think you're arrogant for it and you think you're better than us. No, I'm just saying, hey, you challenged me. Hey, I got this. We can do this, guys. I'll show you how. Well, now you trying to show them how is coming off as, oh, you think you know better than me. Oh, my Lord. So I don't even bother anymore. At the end of the day, I do this for me and I always have. And, I've gotten through the era of caring at all what anybody thought about my media, my shooting, what I'm doing, anything like that. Because at the end of the day, like Michael Jordan, Tiger Woods, no one else has to believe in your dream. Nobody. All that matters that you do, because you can have 100 people out there who truly believe you can do it. And if you don't believe you can do it, you're never going to do it. So it doesn't matter what they think, even then, when they think you can, right? So it's that same, again, Tiger Woods, Michael Jordan. They had belief in themselves and a never ending commitment to be disciplined to make it happen. I'm not motivated every day. I work the most dangerous job in America. I do logging this year. This year, I started doing logging because I've spent the last 5 years trying to get a job in the industry with my media, my aerospace experience, my sales experience. And I paid my own way to SHOT Show last year, and I'm going to do it again this year because I will not even quit on that. I literally won't quit until I finally get to take my experience and work for a major company in our industry so I can continue to push my passion into our industry and pour it, right? Even then, I won't quit there. People say, well, why don't you just go take that job? Why are you still doing this one that's going to kill you? Well, you're being a little extreme. Yes, it's the most dangerous job in America by 28, I think it was 28 or 18 times, which is pretty wild. More people get killed by trees and wood chippers than anything else. Apparently, but it's because I'm doing what I have to do for now until I get where I'm going. And you know how many times I've heard, dude, just go take the job, just stick with it for if it does not align with what I'm trying to do, as long as I can still eat, pay my bills, and continue doing what I'm doing, it's not that bad. And I don't need to sacrifice my beliefs and my goals and this path that I'm on if I don't have to. So I will continue to fight tooth and nail to get where I'm going with shooting as a champion, wearing USA on my my back, my sleeve, my chest, and being able to make a difference in our industry, whether it be through teaching, training, motivation, working within the industry. I'm committed to this whole industry. You'll That's the thing people will realize when I'm still in it 10 years from now. It's the one thing that my legacy will leave. That guy doesn't know when to quit. And if that's the worst thing people say about me, I'm doing pretty good, I think.
How motivating was it when the last Olympics they had the
The Turkish
Olympic
guy.
shooter? Yeah, yeah. Everybody else is like all decked out and all their sponsorship and high expensive equipment. This dude's out there like sandals, and it was
That's what
hysterical. It's like,
solidified it.
there you
He's
go.
he's what solidified it, man, because the amount of people who messaged me, with friends, family, and stuff like that, like, hey, why don't you go do this? Like, if that guy could just walk up here and do it. Now, I'm with the group of people who thinks he was definitely an assassin or a hitman back in the day. I'm on that train. Not that I know for sure it's like the joking theory, right? Like, but I'm like,
Right.
no, that guy knew some stuff, but maybe he didn't. Who knows? It's all just a laughing theory. But no, when I did see that, man, it was, and then having that many people, I had people from my family that have never said anything about my shooting at all. It's not something I reach out and say, "Hey, come do," because you never know how people are nowadays, right? And I'm not trying to cause family drama over what I do. So, you never know where that's going to come. But I had some of those people message me a picture of that guy saying, "If he did it, why are you not there?" And I thought about it. I'm like, that's a really, really, really good point. Why can't I do it? If this guy picked it up 2 years ago, and the number one argument you would hear is, yeah, but these guys have been doing it their whole life. Not that guy.
Right.
Essentially, not that guy. That guy did it for
Right.
2 years. And you know what? I
Not
wouldn't say he's a freak either. Like, he's just patient. He was patient. He didn't have bad habits, nothing like that. He was patient. And he had nothing. Here's the biggest thing. Like me, he had nothing to lose. And like I said in that video, right? I have nothing to lose because I gave myself nothing to lose. I made every sacrifice that I had to in my life to be able to fully divert myself into my purpose. And like my family always tells me, why do you pick the most dangerous things, or not the most, rather, the hardest, the most difficult things in life that give you the least reward? I go, maybe because that's where I found that my niche and purpose is to show that it is not always about the money reward, that it is about feeling fulfilled, right? And feeling full. And at the end of the day, how many people have you met or heard of that had these super successful lives and businesses, but they were on their deathbed at 70, 80, and they had nothing but regret, right? when
right.
I
Yeah.
was when I was on the backside of that mountain, Dave, like I said in that video, and it took me many years to finally put that video together where I felt that I was able to say it and put it out there when it was the right time. I had been doing motivational stuff since I was about 18 years old. Most of it was all bodybuilding related back in the day, but I've been a motivator for many, many years because I had to spend my whole childhood motivating myself out of, a rough come up. And at the end of the day, it's just you can't you have to stick to your convictions, right? And sticking to your convictions to me is the most true thing that any human being can do, and what will pull out their most pure self and their highest level of capabilities is by feeling the purpose and sticking to your convictions. So that is truly what I'm trying to do here and what I mean by all of that. And at the end of the day, it's why I know I will get, even if, aiming for the stars and I land on the moon. Tell you what, the moon's pretty cool, man. If I land on the moon, Awesome. Like I don't say all of this stuff. Like I want to be a national champion. Maybe it's not a USPSA national champ. I'm not gonna. Very well, maybe. Maybe it turns out to be a world speed shoot. Maybe it turns out to be IDPA. I don't know, man. But I know I am completely willing to try it all, do it all, and take every detour and route that I need to take to get where I'm going in some capacity. It's also why I say, champion in practical shooting, not USPSA champion. Yes, USPSA is the main one, but I never know where life's going to take me, right? But I know where my goals are. And if I make that too narrow of a hallway to chase down, I don't leave myself with much opportunity to accomplish other things. And I am such an ever adapting person, even that, right? Like I was full R dedicated in USPSA. I never thought about doing anything else. And then I'm all about the Olympics. Now I love shooting steel challenge as a change. I did falling steel this past weekend with Corey Shield down in Ohio. Had an absolute blast. It felt no different than competing anywhere else. It's being a competitor, right? And I just want to show people that they can do it, that anybody can do it. It just takes a certain level of conviction.
How far are you from Cardinal?
About 3 hours,
Okay.
3:15, give
I
or
mean,
take.
I know they have the NRA bullseye stuff, but I don't know if they have like 22 Olympic
Yeah.
style stuff.
'Cause I think a lot of that
Hmm.
happens at an indoor range more often, from what I've
Yeah.
seen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You ever watch the I didn't watch it this year. I watched it last year. The NCAA. Shoot, it's their maybe no, it wasn't air rifle. It was 22 caliber. No, it was air rifle actually. I think it was air rifle.
I think it's air rifle.
But that was pretty wild too because it's all
Yeah.
Olympic style shooting. They had
Right.
the air rifles, but I liked how they did the live stream of it because they had a camera on the shooter, and then in the corner of the screen, you had the target was right there. So you could see as soon as they pulled the trigger and the shot broke, you would see the impact on the target and it would score it for you. So you would know where they were. And
Right.
it's pretty, very, very interesting.
I love seeing that that's getting into college and like with what you guys are doing and what Jay's doing, like what I see you guys creating is exactly what I think 90% of shooters would love to see. And it's getting our sport noticed, getting our sport seen. And that is also like the big thing that I do with my media, like my number one outside of inspiration, the number one goal as far as influence goes, aside from that, is flooding the internet with fun, gun, simple, right? Fun and gun, professional of any of us, because we look like professionals to regular people, all of us. Gun, not violent gun, because
Right.
that's all everybody sees now. So when we try to talk about what we do, if we try to show what we do, we get pushed down by algorithms, we get pushed down and everything of the such, right? To me, that's how we change that narrative. By like, you can't change it by telling people. You need to think this way. You need to feel this way. It's explaining what you do. They won't get it. You have to keep putting it in their faces. Who complains about guns when they're watching the Olympics? Nobody. I don't hear, at least, I know I'm sure somebody out there, everyone's always complains, but you get my point. You don't
Yeah.
hear big Facebook rants about, oh, they let them use guns in the Olympics. No, because everyone says, oh, well, it's the Olympics. Well, why can't we be looked at the same way? Right? Well, it's a sport. It's sporty. Just like over in Europe, as I'm sure you've seen, they wear like lime green, hot pink, and that's why IPSC targets look the way they do. They can't have silhouettes that look like people. It cannot
Right.
in any way simulate or correlate any sort of violent act towards a human. And I get that. It's also why I will say this: anyone who has a YouTube channel has heard this 1,000 times. I think we need to go back to Colt poppers because You look on any high viewed YouTube video of USPSA shooting, and I block people immediately. If you say this stuff on my channel, like I'm not here for views. I'm here for quality. And if you come on my page, like someone posted and commented on the falling steel and said, "Oh wow, you just took out a whole class in 10 seconds." I said, in my mind,
Wow.
you are effed up. Blocked. Now that's not the first time. And I didn't even know that this was a thing until Greg had a short video go viral, I think to like 1 million and something views. And we were sitting in the hotel room, we were just talking about YouTube stuff, and he's like, dude, like I'm gonna read these to you. And he starts reading all of these, and I'm like, wow. And now it doesn't surprise you at all after watching how people reacted to Charlie, right?
Right.
It
Right.
doesn't surprise you at all. So I would say that to any of you guys, to anyone who's watching this, listening to this, if you have a YouTube channel and anybody comments stuff like that, do not engage, do not anything. The best thing we can do is block them from seeing any of the stuff that we put out. Do not even let them engage and put that out there, because the public sees that comment just like Facebook, and then they believe that comment, or they see it as an empowering thing to jump in, and everyone wants to jump in and beat on the little guy, right? When they can't think for themselves. That's why the weird kid hangs out with the bully, because he doesn't want to be beat on. He wants to do the beating, right? Don't entice that stuff at all. That is becoming the most common thing that I'm seeing. And again, with this, like what we're talking about, we're trying to push fun, safe gun. If we want to add a third word in there, right? Fun, safe gun. These are steel targets and pieces of paper. Anybody out here trying to associate that with something violent has no place. They aren't grown up enough to be in the same circle as the rest of us, is the way I see it.
So why are we still on Instagram and YouTube?
Because unfortunately, that is where people get influenced from nowadays. And it does suck, right? Like there's many times where I wish we could just not be on any of it at all. But unfortunately, in a technological world, if you aren't on those, you aren't it makes it very hard. Now you can make a difference, but it makes it very hard to influence, which is why, they call them influencers, right? Influencers are on all over social media. That's how you get paid to do that, by your following, right? Now that term
But
gets thrown around a lot, but
why not Twitter and Rumble?
Rumble's a good one. Twitter, because I've at least I personally have never liked Twitter. I've never had one. And every time I considered doing so, I did. Now I'm sure it's changed nowadays. And maybe I'll have to look at it again. But when it was just about, words, I'm not, I'm not here just to talk. I can talk all day. I talk all over YouTube. I talk all over Instagram. You know what I mean? Um, I guess I never saw Twitter as anything more than just blabbering. You know what I mean? I know a lot of people get influenced from there, but I've seen more tweets get shared and get misconstrued and completely slander somebody's entire reputation more than I've ever seen it anywhere else. So I guess that's why I've always stayed away from it. But I do need to get on Rumble.
Well, I'm with Twitter. I mean, the screen size fits right. It's rotatable. You can put video and text. You can
Okay.
do all that stuff, the same stuff. So, and they won't shadow ban you because you're putting up gun stuff. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like it's much more free. It's much more accommodating for the way we post videos, which
Right.
all of your YouTube videos, and not just you, but all of us. I mean, we all take landscape video of our shooting.
Yep.
Well, that works perfectly with Twitter. You just upload it straight to Twitter and you see it in 16
Yeah.
by 9. And if you
Okay.
rotate your phone, it's full screen. I'm like, why? And Instagram doesn't like us.
Yeah. It hates us.
And Twitter was like, we don't care. Go ahead, do your thing.
Yeah. Do
So
your
that's where
thing.
I'm like, yeah. I mean, even Andreas Yankopoulos in Atlanta,
Hmm.
he's been trying to push people. I'm like, man, me too, but you can't do anything in there because everybody wants to be on Instagram where they don't like us. YouTube doesn't like us. For me,
Right.
the final straw with YouTube was I was trying to do a live, and like 4 minutes in, they stopped it, and I didn't know. I talked for 55 minutes on what I thought was a
Oh,
live. And when I got done, I'm like, why can't I find it? I'm like, where is it at? And for whatever weird reason, I went to my email and there was an email from YouTube saying, yeah, you violated our community standards. At like 4 minutes in, I was like, oh, I was like, I'm done. I'm done. I'm not putting any
yeah.
more stuff on YouTube. I'm done with YouTube.
I don't
So
blame you.
I
Yeah, I've gone to
refuse.
war with them a couple of times. I know a couple of people to where I've had a little bit of success with kind of going to battle with them. You know, it's a massive company, so there's not much I can do, but I've
Right.
only continued to because I have had little bits of success. Um, a buddy of mine who's a lawyer, and I sat down and really analyzed, really more so him, because I still didn't understand, half of it, but he was able to fully understand what their everything they mean and what their policy is actually stating. So when they would wrongfully, restrict me, I would send him what it was, and he would send me a write up, and I would copy and paste this write up into my explanation to YouTube. And essentially, when I did have one, it was like, I can come at you with a lawyer for this. And almost within 12 hours was those videos remonetized and unrestricted type
Right. But
deal.
how many
So
people have a lawyer friend?
exactly. That's the
Yeah.
downside, right? But it's
Yeah.
like it's me trying to force it out there for now. But I will get on Rumble and I will get on Twitter because of this, because at the end of the day, it's not about just what I want, it's about what our community needs. And if you think as someone who is in depth as you are, think that it'll make a difference, I'll get on there because I want to serve my community the best way that I can here.
Well, I think too, I think the community as a whole needs to transition to those
Yeah.
platforms that don't shadow ban us and gives us that opportunity to actually be who we are and do what we do.
Yeah, absolutely. I couldn't agree more because like even after the CK thing last week, I don't know if you saw, I had posted on my story and said, "Hey, did anybody else get hit like this? Any of us who does do this they were trying to suppress anything 2A related because and I get they were trying to stop an uprise, rightfully so. But it doesn't mean you get to suppress our freedom of speech. You know what I mean? So there's that gray area. But at the end of the day, you're posting on their platform, and within means they can do whatever they want. And that's the sad part,
Right.
right? And
Yep.
that's where I agree with you. I do. I guess when I know for like once I get to a certain point where I know I have gotten the brand and the name out there enough to where I can completely leave YouTube, I absolutely will. And that'll probably likely come in the format of, I have a website now, but it'll come in the format of me building my own site very elaborately to where it's all on there, right? Um, and then it's tied in with Rumble and Twitter and the things that all are conducive to it. And then, like you're saying, if we all were to do that, we'd really be able to show Instagram and YouTube. If you guys aren't going to play with everybody, then we aren't going to play with you, but that would also take getting a lot of our major manufacturers on board. It would have to kind of be, in my thought is I believe it would likely take a community wide movement, almost like, hey, on this day, everybody in the community is leaving Instagram, leaving YouTube, and we're putting everything there. And we put out, say casual shooters, myself, we all put out this giant list of everybody's names. Go on, follow, follow, follow. Everyone follow each other, take care of each other. Let's rebuild this together. But it, would
Yeah.
have to have enough of a reason to get everybody to do it. And I think that is doable after, over some time here, and if we can really figure out a way to do so. And another way where me trying to get in with a major company in this industry, where I feel that I might be able to make a little bit bigger of an impact with a large name behind me, and that may be something that could be part of it because my goal is to do media marketing and product development. So that would kind of align in with that if I was able to help a company see where we're losing here and how if we get the whole community on board how we can do that. And obviously that would come with the connections I have with you, knowing Jay, knowing Wolf, knowing Nathan Carvalho, knowing so many media guys that
Yeah.
we could blast it as a group. Because at the end of the
Yes.
day, here's one thing that is true. and everyone who's listening to this knows this. Leave it to, I heard this exactly said this way once. Leave it to the two-way community to eat their own. We have
100%.
that tendency. And that's what, I love doing this stuff with you, and I love doing any videos with anybody because I want us all to show that we can work together, and we're the most attached community in the country, in the world. In reality, we are one of the most attacked communities where people are just trying to ruin everything we have, take it all away. If there's any group of people that should be sticking together, it should be ours. So
Sticking to their guns.
sticking to their guns. I was going to say it,
Pun
but
intended.
yeah, pun intended. But that's truly how we win as a whole. That is how our community wins and how we get back the things that we've lost and how we continue to grow what we all put so much time, love, and effort and money into, right? So, there's definitely possibilities for this, and know that I am someone, if you were to ever call me with an idea about this, like I'm on board, man. I want to make that kind of stuff happen, and I'm glad you brought that stuff up.
So, what drone are you using?
Air 3.
I've got an Air 3.
Yep, that's why I
It's a
got it.
fantastic drone.
I asked you at Area 8 because I had asked Jay what he had, and then I saw yours and said, I kind of want that bigger one, though. What do you got? You said Air 3. I'm like, okay. And then when I was finally ready, found an Air 3, just like that, $1,000 out the door. Easy peasy. With brand new, basically in box. I'm like, I can't beat that deal. Let's do it.
So, how are you using it? Just for media stuff, or are you using it as part of your training?
Both.
Okay, good.
So the main goal for it was to try to get my training to the next level. I've been doing media for 15 years, and I used to have video recorders, like camcorders, but I have never actually owned my own DSLR camera. I have never been able to get that chunk of money allocated for, 3 grand for something like what Wolf has, right?
Oh
Um,
yeah, he's got
and
a
I
very expensive rig.
Yeah. Now
Yeah.
I am going to get the same camera he has. It's actually the same camera that Carson Harding got. He's been doing a
Mm,
lot of that awesome media for him and Justine and stuff like that.
right.
Carson's a good friend, so he advised me that way. Wolf said the same thing. I said, "All right, buy once, cry once. We will wait and get that." And I'm trying to build that media because I want to be able to, if at any point I can do this full time to influence and push our game, push our community, I'll do it because I can sit down and edit for it's one thing I can do 24 hours a day is film and edit. I can because I was a programmer too, right? That's why I liked programming and why I could sit there and what we call being in the tube, right? And it's you just being sucked in to what you're doing for hours and hours and hours on end. Media is one thing that I've been able to do that with since I was 12 years old. Heck, man, I really missed out. I should have never stopped doing YouTube when I was 12. I'd be a millionaire. But
Right.
I started YouTube a long time ago doing skateboard montages and car
Mm,
videos of like my mom's car, my neighbor's for like sports car, whatever it was, right? I just loved filming and editing stuff. So yeah, definitely want to get something like what Wolf has eventually. It's long term, right? But obviously I'm into so many things, doing so much of I've learned to be a lot smarter about how I manage, my investments and making sure that it keeps me on the right path of where I'm going. And I do a lot with these, man. Like all of the
they're
cinematic,
amazing.
dude, all of the
Yeah.
cinematic stuff I do, people go, "What camera do you have?" I bought another iPhone because it was cheaper than a camera. Like I just made it my
Yes.
work phone. It became my ATEX training phone number. So it's the phone number that people call. It's separate from my personal one. But the Fusion 48 megapixel on there, all those videos I posted over these last couple days of the world's or of falling steel, dude, just wait till you see the commercial I'm putting together for Corey. I went down there to film an advertisement for him just to try and help push his sport, to help push the falling steel. And I am so is another reason the drone was
Mm,
bought. I bought it knowing, okay, now I have two purposes for this, not just for my training, but for the media. So as long as I
absolutely.
have more than one purpose for it that benefits my overall goal, two purposes, and does it benefit the goal? Those are my three needs, at least when it comes to things like that. Um, but yeah, no, that drone has been like just over these last couple of weeks, um, has helped me with my training drastically and helped me with what is going to be pushing and continuing to influence the growth of our community.
Okay. There's a lot of uses for those drones that I don't think people have really looked at. I mean, when I was at Area 8, I could go back. There's a couple of stages where there were the squad. I don't remember the squad number, but June Kim's squad was
Yep.
a smaller squad.
Didn't they do all day?
They may have.
I think they were shooting all day Saturday or whatever.
I
Yeah.
think they were too, but they I was able to on two different stages park my drone and start recording and record the entire squad with one battery without having to drop down and change batteries. So
Right.
you could literally with June Kim on that squad, let's say there's someone else who's like, man, I wonder how well I did on that stage compared to you can look at practice score and go, okay, he had more alphas, he had this, he had that, he did it this much faster. Okay. But if you have overhead drone footage of the two of them and lay them over top and you time it up so that the beeps are coincided, well, now
Yep.
you can really see what you did in comparison to a high level shooter, you
Yep.
know? And those
Exactly.
drones are unfreaking beatable for that.
That's even what the 360 cameras, well, depending on the stage
Yeah.
size, right? If the stage
Yes.
side is manageable and you can put it in one spot and see it all, it's perfect. But obviously, it's another reason I got the drone, even that video I posted with it. Well, the camera kind of loses me down that left side there. That 360 is going to lose me, the drone won't. So
Correct.
that drone's just like you're saying, it's that next level. Man, I'd love to come out to a match next year with you guys and bring my drone and just add to the footage that you guys are doing. Like just be there with
I
you
don't see that being a
guys,
problem.
where I can help you guys and just for a change, you know, show up with my different hat on to a major match. Not my shooter's hat and influencer hat, but rather my my media hat, right? My camera guy hat. And me trying because like I've told you guys since the beginning, man, I truly I have so much respect and love what you guys are doing because I know what it takes to do what you're doing and that there's not much return. The
I
return is
know.
truly from the purpose of what you're trying to accomplish. And dude, when you brought me up on that when Jay put me on the drone cam last year at Carry Optics Nationals and then interviewed me, dude, nothing like for some of us like we put so much time into the sport. That's like that one moment where you feel like you're important, right? And like I know I'm important, but it makes you feel like you're important to other people for a minute. And you're like, wow,
Right.
this is really cool. They want to talk to me. Well, they just showed me. Anytime you put me on that drone cam, man, I send that stuff to my whole family. Like, look, 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 they got me on the drone cam. Because it's one way that I can like show to them that it's like, look, somebody else filmed me. It wasn't me just filming me. Because when I send them my video, they're like, yeah, you filmed yourself. We get hey, look, this guy filmed me this time. Now, how's it look? Oh, wow, that's really cool. Why does that make a difference? But it does. It just does for people. So, like, I think I've heard a lot of people say how much they love what you guys are doing out there, away from you, right? I hope they're telling you this too. But, I hear it in the background of how, like, valuable what you guys have been doing is. And, if I want to see more people doing it, I believe that I need to be willing to also do it, right? So,
It's a lot of work. I tell you
it
what,
is.
it is.
But maybe
It's
doing it makes it easier for you guys to where at some point we have enough people that we could go and actually like how they're live broadcasting World Shoot. If you guys ever see an opportunity to do that in a way that like we could seriously get this seen by a lot of people, I'm in. I don't care about shooting the match. I'm in
well,
because
that's what
it's
Jay and I are trying to do. The thing is, like this year's a bad year because Jay was trying to get ready for World Shoot.
right,
Plus, so he has to take time off for work for that. So now he can't go to as many matches or
right.
like he couldn't go to Area 5. He couldn't go to IPSC Nats. Also because his wife just gave birth.
Oh wow. Well,
So
congratulations, Jay.
yeah, they have a new baby that was born right around IPSC Nats time. So
Wow.
yeah. So, this year is a difficult year, but the idea is that we have some live camera streaming, drone footage, all of that, but somebody in the studio, and I'm using air quotes for those not watching, where you have always commentary and you can switch from cameras on stages
Right.
to, oh, wait a minute, I'm getting word from Jay. He's down on stage 7. He's got an interview coming up and some drone footage. We'll go live here. Like maybe I don't know. Like he's got Alex Cate who's about to run stage 7, and
Right.
then Alex is going to talk to him afterwards. So let's go there, and then I, bring in the footage from the drone, let it play, and then start talking to Jay until you come up, and then Jay talks to you, and then
Yeah.
Jay and I. So that's how we're trying to do it. But man, it is
It's a
a
lot.
lot of work. Yeah.
I
And I
mean, that's
found it
why,
Area 5, I tried to do way too much.
yeah.
Yeah, oh
Yeah. And
yeah,
I think
way, way, way too
that's,
much.
I think, that's just, from my media experience, I've found that seems like it's really easy to do. It is
Yep.
really easy for us to be like, oh yeah, that sounds awesome. I'm in. I'm going to try to do all of this. And like an hour in, you're not even running around like chicken with your head cut off. You're running around like chicken with no head, no wings, and one leg. It's, you're just hopping around the place like trying to get going because it is too much. It's why there's broadcasting. You look at a TV show or the news, and there's 20 people standing behind the scenes,
Yes, that you
right, to
don't
make that
see.
happen. And like you
Correct.
look at the content I do now, and like when people are like, I set up 5 cameras, like to make a video, I have to be so committed because I have to set up the same 2, 3 cameras 5, 6 different times just to get the angles that I would need that would reflect what a production team would look like. Right. But I would love to be a part of broadcasting, our sport in the future. That's for sure. So, again, like I said, if there's anyone that I can help you out with, always throw it my way. And if I can be a third or fourth man down there with you guys to help you guys push this dream that you guys have already started, I'm trying to come in and help what you guys have already been doing, at least with knowing that I have experience and you guys see that I have the skill to at least be of help and not of hinder. And that's another thing too. I'm sure there's a lot of people who would love to help, but if you don't know, have your own equipment, if you don't know your way around, you know,
Right.
transitioning between things, then you become a hinder because that person has to ask you, Jay or myself, what should I do next? You need high level camera people, and media is not a cheap thing to be into. So
Nope.
there's a lot of money in for minimal to no reward. But you know how NASCAR became televised? You realize like NASCAR was like stock car was about as popular as what we do now when Ralph Earnhardt was finishing and Dale Earnhardt was getting in and stock car really came about. They made like Dale Earnhardt and Darrell Waltrip are truly the founders of NASCAR in the aspect of they made it famous. People just
Okay, from a
know
media standpoint.
from a media standpoint, yes. Like it
Okay.
was not televised and broadcasted like that until they gave them a reason to, right? Dale Earnhardt was the first driver to ever make $1 million in like 1990. And it was because he was the first driver to ever brand and sell merchandise. NASCAR, when we all were watching in the 90s, 2000s, what we saw it as was this super high paying, high level, expensive, established, sport, right? A racing league. 10 years before that, it was no bigger than what we do now as far as media goes. You know what I mean? Yes, this is different. But after seeing, and that Dale Earnhardt documentary that came out was incredible, by the way. Absolutely incredible. Um, that's where I'm getting some of this from. But my point is, all it took was a couple of guys who were willing to be all in to get it noticed. And that's what it took. They were paying their own way through everything even back then. Like even Dale Earnhardt Jr. Although Dale Earnhardt was his dad, Senior did nothing for him until he was like 20, and then finally gave him a chance after he had spent 20 years just trying for his dad to help him get into racing. Dale Earnhardt never helped him get into it until he had beat that door down for 20 years, and he said, "All right, fine." Little do people know. So again, that is people who built a sport by never giving up on their convictions. Same thing that I've been talking about since the beginning of this conversation, right? And that's why I believe so much in what you guys are trying to do and why I do believe. Now, you'll know better than me because you've been doing it. But I truly do think there is a good possibility that it can happen, at least in some capacity. Even if it's on, back on the outdoor channel again, like Shooting USA used to do. Like, even if it's there, where someone can turn on a TV and watch nationals, at least watch the national events and the world shoot, where at least those are broadcast, the world speed shoot, and even if it means they're only following the super squad, that's fine. You know what I mean?
I
It's
think I
still,
think the world speed shoot is easier actually because
yeah,
you can use the timer board,
yeah,
and put that on the. You only have 8 stages. It's always,
yep,
so you only need 8 cameras. You
yeah,
could do that like at Talladega. You could do that with 2 Starlink systems. You
yeah,
could stream those cameras. You could have high quality cameras on each stage. Just one on each stage is all you need, where you've got the shooter, the steel, and the timer. So you can
right,
see the clock. And then, someone operating the multicam streaming stuff that you've got going on. It would be simple,
right.
actually.
Then maybe that's something to keep in mind of a way that maybe we could start that, right? And if we made that, I'll come down, run whatever you guys want. You guys want me to stand there and hold up a little action sign like at that little, I'll do it. You guys want me to run a camera, voiceover, I'll do it. I would be down for something like that if just because I know that's a lot of the problem with anything in this world. I have started businesses and dumped them a couple months later because I realized there's no way I'm ever going to be able to do this on my own. And I can't find anybody who's willing to do this with me. So we're going to move past this. Um, just early 20 stuff, trying one thing or another. But I know personnel, just like staffing a match, makes things happen. When you know you have people willing to show up for you, it opens up a lot more doors. So, I'll continue to reiterate, I would show up for you if you were able to do that, if we were able to
Well,
do that.
yeah, it's also going to take buy-in from USPSA because
Yes.
they and I'm not bad mouthing anybody
Of
or saying
course.
anything negative, but the way that they will push out an email about their live streaming stuff, I wish they would do that for others as well because it's still supporting USPSA. They are still gaining from it.
Right.
And the more people that they can push that message out to, it's kind of like there was before your time, there was a commercial on TV back in the late 70s. And it was like a Head and Shoulders commercial, or it was some type of, I want to say, shampoo commercial. And it was like they told 2 friends, and then they told 2 friends, and then they told 2 friends. Now, as the commercial's going on, they had 2 people on the screen, then they had 4, then they had 8, then they had 16, then they had 32, and the screen is filling up with people.
Yep.
And that's my point. Like, if the USPSA pushes it out and people within the organization are telling friends, like, hey, take a look at this. This is pretty cool. And
Right.
then they show somebody else. Now you grow the sport. So it's not,
Right.
it's all helping to get the sport to grow, you
Yeah.
know?
And like we said earlier, it has to be almost a mass community thing, right? And that's like our community in general. Like for us to really get anything done in our community, there has to be a large compound of people who are, looking for the same goal. Right, I see that like Hunter and them are doing that, like a lot of media. He did a big thing for Christian Sailor. Like Hunter Constantine, to me, he's leading the charge in a way on this kind of stuff. He truly
Yeah,
is in a way.
not streaming, but
Yes.
documentary style stuff. Yes.
Yeah, yeah. Like Hunter, and he's actually from local to me. Now, I've never seen him come back. I know he's been down to like Ann Arbor Arms, but he grew up about 15 minutes from where I'm at, give or take.
Okay.
Yeah. So he's actually
He
a
fled for
local.
warmer weather.
Yeah, but I don't blame him at all. I really don't. I'm from Texas, so like I'm always trying to flee for warmer weather. I definitely, and if anyone, when I'm trying to find those industry jobs, I am like I'm willing to relocate. Up, yep. They're like, will you relocate? Yep, 100%. No problem at all. As long as I can make enough to where it's not going to bankrupt me to do so, I'm in.
Right, right.
But I'll go wherever as long as there's a range within an hour that I can train at, practice at, and compete at. Like, I'll go wherever. I don't blame him at all. But yeah, I love what he's doing because like he's like a great inspiration for someone like me as a media guy, as something that, where I view where I want to see myself in 5 years as far as media goes. And not exactly as Hunter, but in my own way. But I want to have the level of quality he has, the level of volume he has, and I want to be able to travel as much as he does, which I already do quite a bit. So, it's not like any of the stuff's far-fetched, and have the equipment to be able to put out, how he hit up Christian and said, I'm going to do a documentary on your world shoot prep. Well, if he's out there doing Christian, maybe I hit up Mike Wang and go do it for him, right?
Right.
Or maybe I hit up Jay Beal and say, hey, I'm going to come down and do a documentary for you because I know when I'm doing it, I will be doing a documentary for me. Like, but unfortunately, I'm going to have to be a lot of self-filmed, right? Just like
Right.
my motivational video stuff. Hopefully by then I can just, have somebody else come in and we can do it together. Um, because I'm, trying to inspire and share my story as well. I'd like to have that out there when I get there, because then we can always reference back to times like this where I said that's where I'm going. Well, here I am now, right? But yeah, all in all, it's like that's the stuff we need to see, and it is happening. So, maybe we try to start poking at who we can within USPSA to kind of start planting that seed of them being willing to talk about it in meetings, to maybe allocate some sort of dedication to it, even if it's not funds, but it's the willing to blast it out. Maybe it's a Maybe, I mean, because all these things are realistic. Maybe it's a fundraiser that they put out to every member in the league saying, if you're willing to donate 5, 10, $20, it goes towards Casual Shooters Podcast and Practical Shooting Live, so they can continue to come out and broadcast the sport, showing you so your friends, family, and otherwise can see it. And if it's not that, then it's, just pushing it to get people to follow a page, follow the Rumble, the Twitter, whatever this platform is going to be that it would be streamed through in that particular event. But, it's definitely doable. It's just people, right? We just got to work our way around people. People are workable.
Yeah.
That's the way I think about it. It's hard, but it's always workable.
And over in at the World Shoot, I added up all the people that Leighton had mentioned would be working on it. And it's like 13 to 17 people, seven like dedicated people, and then another 6 to 10 people like shooters giving, you know, expert commentary and whatever other stuff.
Oh, no kid. That's awesome.
Yeah. So but my point is though, it's a whole team effort, and that's what it
Yeah.
takes. Even what Jay and I do, like Area 8 is good because I'll keep using the word the name you're using, Wolf.
I just call him
There's
Wolf.
so you can kind of split up some stuff. Jay's doing drone. Wolf is doing ground video with his 8K camera and doing
Right.
some really cool stuff. And then, we've got the stream going on, or in studio interviews and different things like that. So everybody has their own little area of responsibility versus
Right.
one person trying to do it all, which just doesn't work. You
Yeah.
basically have to pick one thing and go, what am I going to do? Am I going to do ground photography? Am I going to do drone stuff? Am I going to do live
Right.
streaming? That's what I learned at Area 5,
Yeah.
because working 5:30 in the morning till 2 a.m. the next morning every day does
That's
not make
rough.
you happy.
No,
I
that's
was
rough.
not a happy camper when I came back.
Yeah. No,
And
I
I was
believe
like,
it.
I will never do that to myself again. I was like, I screwed the pooch on that one.
Yeah, because I do about 5:30 to midnight every day as it is, and sometimes I have to stop at 10:30 because I'm starting to get that way myself. 5:30
Yeah.
to 2 a couple days, and like once you get past like 13, 14 hours of something, your time almost starts to blur within itself, where it's like it becomes negligible, where it's like you got to know when, like, to stop, where time is just now taking you way too long to get this much done because you've been going for so long. Right. And it's hard to be able to determine that after 14, 15 hours of trying to get something done.
I got there Tuesday and I immediately started getting video footage at Area 5. So I was up late Tuesday night after driving 8 hours. And then, so Tuesday night, Wednesday night, Thursday night, I think Friday was the staff dinner. But Tuesday, Wednesday,
Okay.
Thursday, I ate in the room. Like whatever I had brought with me in a bag to munch
Right.
on for the drive is what I ate for dinner.
Yep.
I didn't go anywhere. I didn't do anything. I literally went straight back to the room and immediately started doing video editing and other stuff.
Right.
And then, so it was like that every night. And I was like, people were like, you look stressed. And what I was tired and grumpy.
Yeah. I remember seeing you that when I was down on
Yeah, I
like day
was like,
5 or whatever.
I was
I
not
was like,
happy
"What's
with
up, Dave?" You
myself.
were just like, "Hey,
Yeah.
man."
Yeah. I was not happy with myself.
I
So
could
I
tell you were
learned.
dying a bit. Because, yeah, I came up to you and I was like, "Oh, man, we got to talk. I'm starting to figure some stuff out." And you were like, "Yeah, yeah, yeah, for sure. We'll talk about it later. Yeah, for sure." Yeah. I'm like, "Oh, man,
Yeah.
he's dying." And it's hot. That was a hot weekend, man. On top of it, that was hot as hell. Ugh, it was literally hell
It was,
hot.
yeah. It was actually cool for me because it was 10 degrees hotter in Virginia at the time.
Oh,
So it was actually
really?
a little bit cool for me. So I was okay with it. I was like, I was looking forward to the mid 80s versus the 95 to 97 with humidity.
Yeah. And that was a hot mid 80s, too. It was just
Yeah.
that was a rough week, and that was one where I really had to manage my sit down time and like keeping ice in my neck towels. And I mean, I had ice wrapped around my neck that whole match
Were you
because
the
I'm
one who
so
were you the one that said that cooling wrap was was the bomb?
yeah, I think
Someone was
so.
so okay. Cuz someone was, man, that's where it was like it's all a blur, but someone, and I thought it was you, had like one of those cooling wraps where you dip it in ice cold water and then
Yep.
put it on.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. I wear the gator style ones, so I dip them
Yeah.
in and I wrap ice in them and I kind of scrunch up the sides and I put it around my neck, so I'm almost wearing like a ring of ice around my neck. And then I wear, these long sleeve Zero Sports hoodies, and it's perfect because then all that starts to drip and melt on my chest and it keeps my core cool, right? And it's the
Right.
only way that I have found that and these because those neck fans suck. These don't
What is
suck.
that?
These are those belt fans that you see everyone wearing. Where you see their jersey just flapping like this in the wind. You're like, why
Yep.
is that? It's because this is attached to their belt.
Gotcha.
It is a very high powered, and it's like a 15,000 mAh battery too.
Oh
And it has
wow.
like a little stand, like it'll
Yep.
stand up on its side. It's got a clip there. You clip that on your belt, and then it's got an opposing clip on the other side. So you take your shirt and like stick it in it. That way you don't cover up the
Mm,
bottom of it. Yeah. These things were lifesavers out there because those neck fan things, they're horrible. They don't do anything.
gotcha. Okay. Wow.
But yeah, between that and this, it was absolutely game changing, man.
Well, and those battery operated fans you see in people's carts or on their bags or stuff is very
Yep.
popular too.
I bring the Milwaukee one out. Yep.
So, okay.
Necessary.
I mean, beer's fine too. It's okay.
Yeah. I agree. I do. I agree. I approve of this message.
All right. So my last question is: there's a little bit of conflict in the video, that a feed that I'm seeing from you. Who's the hat? Vortex?
Yeah.
And a Vortex shirt. What's
Yeah.
that to your left?
Loophole.
Okay.
I'll tell you what. The loophole flag I got from I got some years ago after I worked an event for Veterans for USA over here in Michigan, and the shop that I had joined up to go help them just gave me a bunch of banners. Um, I have like some of my banners in here are product placement for people that I do work with, but not everybody. And nobody really, at least that I've had people offer, but like I don't really let anybody pay me to do product placement because unless the things that I have on my walls are products that I believe in and that I use and that I am showing here because I want you to associate me with them, whether I have sponsorship with them or not. Like I have no relationship with Loophole at all. But I love
Okay.
Loophole optics on all of my hunting rifles are all Vortex and Loophole. Now, I don't run Loophole on competition anything. I just got my first Vortex Defender XL this past weekend at the Falling Steel match. So I hadn't even run anything Vortex related. And I really am someone who, when I believe in a product and I've used it for a while and already put out media and talked about how great it is, that's when I might reach out to a company and say, hey, would you like to do any collaboration or partnering? But I always show that I was willing to do stuff for them first, because I really don't ask for much in return. But it's because I love their products and I use them and I want to continue to. So maybe I'm going to regardless, but if I can work something out with them where we can benefit each other, I'm always for those opportunities. But like if I like, you'll never see a product or a name on my wall that I don't solely believe in, that I wouldn't be willing to defend that product, with at least what experience that I do have or know, because I will never be a shill. But just because they're opposing, and then you look here to the left, well, here's another optic brand, right? There's two optic
Lux
brands right
Tactical.
there. Yep. And they're a guy very local, a guy local to me, basically took on that project with the owner, and they're awesome. They're seriously awesome dots, and he makes range finding binoculars, which are awesome. And I have been that person who, because my name wasn't big enough, when I had a great idea, it didn't go anywhere. But if the guy down the road who has, a brand and a following had the same idea, it would blow up overnight. So there's a reality to that. So when I see a good product that's out there and I try, and I tested the hell out of these, heck, their version 2 is coming out, and it's pretty much everything that I managed. Like, you want to test if something will break, give it to me. Just give it to me. I will let you know where it fails. I promise. I do the same thing with heavy equipment at work. Ask anyone I've ever done trades with. If you got a trowel or you got a skid steer that you say is indestructible, I'll find a way. I promise. I blew up a hydraulic tank in a ditch witch earlier this year, and they were like, I've never seen that before. I goes, because you've never seen me operate it. I will always find a way to push something to its absolute limit as long as I have the ability to. Like in that moment with the hydraulic tank, it was, hey, no, just do it. What happens, happens. Okay. Pop. Told you. But, with
This
that, yeah. Go ahead.
this is actually my favorite scope of all time. The
Yeah.
Leopold Mark IV. Yep.
Those are awesome.
Other than the Unerdal, I will always love my Unerdal 10 power marine scope, but
Yep.
I this one I absolutely loved. I could take a Leopold Mark IV and a fixed 16 with a mil dot reticle all day and 74 times on Sunday.
Hell yeah. Yeah,
So
dude, I love Loophole. I asked, what's funny is I actually had one. I actually don't even have one anymore because I did not know. I was back then. It was one of my first rifle optic ever, and I used it for a long time, and I blew the glass out because I ate shit hunting, and I threw it away. Well, fast forward a couple years later, and I get into this shooting career, because this is probably 8 years ago. And someone goes, "Why did you do that?" I'm like, "What do you mean?" They're like, "Dude, this lifetime warranty. They would have replaced it." And I'm like, "Oh
whoops.
no." So, today years old, you learn from your mistakes. So now I have vortexes on them all. And I wanted a loophole for my current hunting rifle, but it was just out of budget when I was getting ready for that elk hunt last year. But I eventually will. But I love that loophole flag, and I love their products, and I love how they do take care of everybody. So, until I have enough people who want to work with me where everything on the wall is something that I
Sponsor.
use and sponsor,
Right.
I will. But, I have a howitzer thing up there because I know all the guys at Howitzer, like they're my favorite like group of just awesome people who represent an awesome brand. That I've ran into them and hung out with them at so many trade shows and events. They have always been just some of the coolest people in our industry to me. So when Eric Foss gave me that banner when I asked for it at Nationals in Talladega last year, you know, I said, I'm going to put it up in my studio, man. He was like, thanks. Like, hey, don't worry about it. I got it. I just want a howitzer banner behind me.
Well,
Um,
and I should qualify what I said earlier is like I'm not I've heard nothing but good things about Vortex, and when I was at SHOT Show looking at their products,
Yeah.
all looks fantastic. I've just
Yeah.
never used it. So of the stuff that I've used,
Yeah.
that's what I like. So I don't
No,
have
their
anything
stuff's
against
awesome.
Vortex or even Nighthawk. I wouldn't.
Yeah.
I
Night
The
Force.
only thing is, yeah, Night Force. I'm sorry, Night
Yeah.
Force. But there's also, I know from my past that there are diminishing rewards, and I'm not spending $3,000 on a scope
I'm with
when
you.
I know that for a third of that price, I can get the job done.
Yeah. Like I use a
So
Trijicon Credo on my 3-gun rifle. It's a 1-to-6 Trijicon Credo. It is a basic, extremely basic reticle. It's damn near a BDC. But it was still a $1,200, piece of glass. But
right,
then I have a client who just replaced her. She had the new EOTech Voodoo. And I wasn't a huge, I'm a big fan of EOTech products. I just wasn't a fan of the second focal plane setup on it because it made it a little bit too difficult for my shooter. So she went and got a $3,500 Night Force, like ATAC
ooh,
RC, and like, even if she ever reads,
she went
listens
right
to
to the
this, she'll,
top. Yeah,
yeah, and she'll be like, well, we'll go back and forth about it, but she's already heard my spiel on it, and it was, it's awesome if we can learn how to use that entirety of that massive tree that is in that reticle. But like, you're doing tactical games. You do not need that many reference points. That optic is for a PRS shooter who is
right.
fighting wind at 800 yards. Like,
Or 1,500 yards.
yeah,
Yeah,
it's that you're not really in like the hardest thing that we were trying to figure out over these last couple months with her going out to her next major was um her holdovers. Like I was trying to find a way that she could accurately be able to say, okay, I'm shooting at 400. I need to go there. And at this point, I told her, stop using the reticle. And here's a little, cheat sheet. Here's a dope card. And this is where you need to aim on the target at this distance. Let's make it easy. It's like Kentucky windage, but Kentucky elevation.
right.
I don't know if there's a name for the elevation part,
Kentucky
but
elevation. There
is
you
it
go.
Kentucky elevation? Okay.
Yeah, they
So
call it
yeah,
Kentucky windage, but it's all the same, whether it's
yeah.
vertical or horizontal.
Okay, I figured
So
as much. But yeah, because
yeah,
that tree made it way more difficult for her because now she's got so much information, right?
too
And it's
much.
like it's diminishing results, like you said.
Yeah.
So I try to keep it simple. Either have a quick adjustable turret using MRAD probably rather than MOA. But if I'm using MOA, I'm just gonna Kentucky elevation and Kentucky windage the whole thing. Make it simple.
Okay.
Keep it simple. But I'm with you on that. It is diminishing results, and I've
Yeah.
experienced that
She
as a
doesn't
shooter
need all
and a
that
teacher.
input.
No, it's made it
No, yeah,
harder for her.
it's clutter, it's
Yeah.
distracting, there's a lot why she doesn't need that. Now, it's her choice if that's what she wanted to buy.
Yes.
I'm not going
Yes.
to beat her about the head and shoulder, but at the same
No.
time, I'd be like, you could have probably saved about $1,500
Yeah.
and had something that worked much better for you.
Yes, absolutely. And it's like she also went and got that Huxworks suppressor too, because that's the one to get. And I get it. That Hux Flow is probably the best suppressor, I guess you could say. One of the best suppressors out there right now, at least as far as popularity goes and being FA rated and so on. Well, that thing's kind of fat, just so you know. If you've never seen one, the Huxworks Flow is a little fat. Now it's a flow through. So it has channels on the outside that has the gas go forward, then it cycles back towards the brake, and then it goes forward again. So it's supposed to try and move that gas forward to backward to mitigate recoil. Okay. Well, the first time she went to go poke this thing through a VTAC wall, bang, 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 bang. Oh, well, everybody else uses a suppressor. So I go and grab my Sandman, my dead air, and I go and just right through the wall. See? Right through the wall. Don't just go for the fancy, expensive, highly
Right.
talked about product. Make sure it works for your application, you
This
know?
woman's got some money.
Yeah.
Because those are not, none of the thing you said is cheap.
Bro, you don't even know the half of it.
Oh, I can only imagine what the rest of the setup on the gun is. So,
But just in case she does, in some capacity, see this, they've earned every bit of what they have, in no way,
oh
shape,
yeah,
or
yeah. I'm
form. I'm not
not.
saying, yeah, but I just want to make sure I cover that because, people can
I
misinterpret
got it.
things.
Yeah,
And at the end of the day, she is trying to just get the best thing that she thinks she can get. And like before she went and got it, she didn't ask me, not that she had to. So it's like if she
right.
would have, I would have told her, but it's not my place unless she does ask me. If she shows
Correct.
up with it, I will just give her my honest opinion and we will try to work through it, which we do. We try our best to work through it. Um, but heck, she just had to drop her gun off at the gunsmith because when she got it back, she couldn't get the can off, and it was all carbon locked, and yeah, it's all kinds of stuff. You know what I mean? So it's like that's where to anybody else, like, don't think that you need the crazy gear. You hear it from everybody at the highest of levels. Like, gear does not make your shooting better. The quality of it, like you'll see Ben Stoker won worlds with a Glock. Am I
Well,
right?
and yeah, I mean, there is a point where it can harm your shooting,
Yes.
but
Yes.
the gear alone is not going to make you win it.
Right. And too much gear can be too much to decipher through, like we're talking about here, right? If you overdo the
Yes.
gear, now you don't know how to use the gear. It's like don't go buying that giant Vortex rangefinder electrical, the giant thing that the TRS guys put on top of their scopes, right? With their ARCA and all their angle finders and all that stuff.
Right.
Like, don't just do it because you see those guys have it. Start with one addition. And then same thing I tell people when you're building a gun. Do not, unless you have experience doing it, do not completely overhaul your gun. It's like where Glock people, a lot of Glock guys make a mistake where you have your Glock that's bougie or Gucci Glocked and now it barely works because they didn't do part at a time. They bought a Glock because it was cheap, right? And they were like, I'm gonna slap, the AR built it. And it's fun,
Right.
I'm not dogging on them for doing it at all. Like, hey, to
Right.
each their own, but it's just an example that I'm trying to use is where, too much becomes diminishing. And if you do too much and don't take it step by step, then when you have a problem, you have no idea where it's coming from.
Correct. Well, and that goes to even the fact of using that same analogy, the Gucci Glock. Oh my gosh, man, the number of slide and barrel aftermarket products out there are crazy. But
Yeah.
you got to remember, if you have a solid slide and your gun has a certain poundage of recoil spring, and now you buy this really awesome, cool, cut down slide that's Cerakoted
Right.
all red, white, and blue and stuff and put it on. Well, now you've changed the weight of the slide. Is it going to work with the recoil spring? You've already
Right.
changed the dynamics of the
Yep.
gun.
And the
So,
recoil impulse, everything. You got to completely
yeah.
retune it. Like, even if I
Yeah.
change a recoil spring, like, I'll change a recoil spring just because I can tell I maybe tried 135 grains at 135 power factor instead of 124. Is it 135? Well, it's a little bit different of a feeling. Even then, I might change from a 10 to an 11-pound spring based on because there is a level of torque, I guess you could say, or inertia that is coming out based on the heavier bullet coming out slower. The hitting stopping power may be the same, but it's not as it leaves, right?
It feels different. Yeah. And it
Yes.
reacts differently.
So, like,
And
do all
and
those
for the
changes, it won't
average,
work.
for the casual shooter, it may not
Right.
matter.
Yeah, exactly. And for a lot of people, it doesn't at all. If you're plinking at the
Right.
range, it doesn't. But for those of us who are relying on performance aspects, and we know a single malfunction can cost you a match, like it can cost you a win. As we were talking about earlier with that match with those guys, point for point, shot for shot. If I had a malfunction on a stage during that match, I wouldn't have been 124 seconds like the other two. I would have been 126, 127. Now I'm way behind, right?
Well, yeah. And I mean, if we're getting nuanced, then it can change the recoil impulse to where it can actually change how the pistol recoils up or up and to the right or up and to the
Right.
left. I mean, it
Tracking.
changes. Yeah, the tracking changes. So now, like you're saying, now your splits are longer
Hmm.
because now it's different and you have to bring it back down to where you need. So there's a lot of little, you got to be careful what you do.
Yep, it's easy to send yourself down the path. Like we've all met that guy who like changed a gun every month. Like every month he came out with a different gun thinking that that gun was
Right.
going to change his shooting. And then you fast
Right.
forward 2, 3 years later, you've tried to tell him, you've tried to help him, but 2, 3 years later, he's still dealing with the exact same things. And the one thing, at least I don't know if the people is like it, but the two guys that I know are like this. Man, I swear every other match they can't even get through the match because their gun's not working. It's like they jump guns so fast without working them out and figuring out what works for
Mm,
them. They're sharing ammo between them all. You know what I mean? To a point to where those guys I see having more malfunctions and technical issues, they never even get to work on their shooting. They're too busy trying to get the gun to work. It's kind of like how you learn how to drive around a
right.
track if you can't even get the car to the track. You can't. You never even
Right.
got there.
Well, and I mean, I learned the hard way that, not every bullet shape works the same in every gun, you
Yep.
know? I mean, I've been a rifle guy my whole life. So this whole pistol thing was foreign to me. And, when you get it starts with a B where the bullet gets wedged in the barrel, brain fart.
You thinking about a squid?
Yeah. I mean, a squib. Yeah.
He said starts with a B. I'm like, it starts with an
I
S, but
know.
I think that's what he's talking about.
Good thing you figured it out.
I got you,
Uh,
buddy.
I got like 3 hours of sleep last night, so I'm tired. I got to bed about 4:30 this morning.
Oh man.
Um, yeah, that's what happens when you can't sleep sometimes. But
Yep.
anyway,
I was
I
up at five.
digress.
I see you.
Yeah, but I learned then like why, when you start going back and you have to engineer what happened, then you're like, oh, we have the exact same grain projectile,
Right.
different manufacturer. So now the shape of it is different. So now it got loaded at the exact same overall length, which didn't work. And
Right.
now the two of us who were using it both had a squib and zeroed a stage at nationals down in Frostproof. So
Yep.
it's all a
Yeah.
learning process. And if you're constantly, like you're saying, changing things all the time,
Yep.
then you're just going to have problem on top of problem on top of problem and never figure out what's going on.
The biggest problems I ever ran into were from me changing one thing. And like I had it and it was like, all right, we're good. It's working. And then I got to a point where I'm like, all right, it doesn't work all the time. Stop that. Hell, I just changed my press. I had malfunctions on 3 stages at Falling Steel, which never happens to me. And like I even had a guy say, hold on, hold on. Did your Shadow 2 just have a malfunction? And I said, no, my ammo did. And this is
There you
why.
go.
I've been processing brass. I fully process and roll size my brass, practice ammo and match ammo because I do everything. It's the one thing I can control, malfunctions, right? And I never have them. I took my crimp or not my crimp, my resizing and decapping die out of my press because I'm like, why do I still have this in here? It's 50% of the pain in my shoulder from loading. Is that? I don't even need that. I already resized it. I already decapped it. I swaged it. It's been roll sized. I don't need that die in here at all. Well, I took that out, so obviously the press is going to change a little bit. I checked powder. I did not check my crimp. Now,
Mm,
when I checked it later, it still looked right on the bullet, but it wasn't, and this is how I knew. I checked powder load. Powder load was point 0.1 below, so not enough to be a huge issue.
right.
Maybe take from 130 to 132, but I was coming out at 127, 128, and I'm like, wait a minute, wait a minute. This has 3.9 grains of tight group. At 4.0, I'm 135 power factor. What's going on here? Well, shoot, shoot, shoot. Look at my arm. There it is. How much powder was on my arm? Unburnt powder. So what's that tell you?
Wow.
Not enough pressure. Crimp
Yeah.
wasn't tight enough. So
Yeah.
my rounds are coming out a little bit light, and it's not because the powder low, it's because the crimp's low. And I had a couple where it didn't cycle all the way because it wasn't enough pressure to cycle the gun to where I realized I needed to put a 9-pound spring in this gun when using this round of 1,500 rounds that I made. Fortunately, I never make small batches. It's always a chunk like that.
Right.
So I got to deal with it. But that's the first time in 2 years of hand loading that I've had anything like that happen. Because I usually don't make those mistakes, but I was supposed to have time to load match ammo before that, and just I didn't. So I took that practice ammo and I paid for it. But I would never bring it to a USPSA match. But all in all, exactly to your point, it changes things. And that was enough to cause me to have to fix a malfunction on multiple stages. I was lucky I still took second, man, with all those malfunctions. But without the malfunctions, my buddy Brett was like, I did the math on your malfunctions. He's like, you would have beat me without those. I go, yeah, woulda, shoulda, coulda doesn't matter. I showed up unprepared. I showed up prepared incorrectly. That's why you won, and you will win anytime the next guy shows up unprepared. You beat me. You killed it. I go, I will never be that guy that makes excuses as to, oh, I could have won if. Well, sure, we all could have won if, right? We can play that game all day, but that's not what happened.
Right.
So,
Potentially. Yeah.
yeah, potentially, I can go to sleep and dream of all kinds of things. That doesn't mean it's going to happen tomorrow.
Right. I could potentially win the lottery.
Yeah, right. Potentially. Yeah, I could
Right.
have if I just bought the right lottery ticket. Yeah, you're right.
Exactly.
But woulda, shoulda, coulda.
Right.
So, yeah,
Yeah, I
man.
thought I was having a gun issue at Area 8. I actually switched guns from day 1 to day 2.
Really?
Yeah, I did. And thank goodness. Now here's the funny thing, I was shooting my steel rival and I switched to my poly rival because I was having so many malfunctions with my steel rival. And I was like,
Okay.
"Man, what is going on? This is so weird." So I switch over the next morning. Russell came over. I explained what I want to do. He asked everybody, "Is he having malfunctions?" And they were like, "Oh yeah." Like literally three of them at the same time went, "Oh yeah."
The whole
And he's
group.
like,
Yup.
yeah, and he's like, "Okay, cool, go right ahead, good to go, no problem." I had a few more, not as many. So I was like, okay, the poly rival for whatever reason is a little bit more tolerant. Well,
Okay.
when I went to Chrono, I found out that it was an ammo problem that was barely meeting 125 power factor. And this
No
wasn't
kidding.
reload. It was not a reload. This was new ammo.
Oh no, you got, I think I was it part of that
One
same batch that a lot of other people had the same problem with?
No, this was
Oh,
I'm not even going to say
okay.
the company. It's
Yeah,
a
no,
it's a
don't do it.
smaller company, but I bought it like a year and a half ago and then I didn't shoot much, so I had a bunch of it and I'm like I'm going to take this
Right.
and that's what I used, and one of the shots was actually was 124 power factor. So they had to shoot fire because they had to shoot them out of both guns.
Right.
And out of the steel, it barely made. It was like 125, and it was like 126 out of the poly. So it
Wow.
was, yeah. I was like, okay, it's not the gun, it's the crappy ammo that I brought. And but at the same time, it's just knowing everything just well enough of what you're
Hmm.
doing and paying attention and then going, okay, now I'm able to connect the dots and go, okay, not worried about my gun. I know now that this is just crap ammo and I can use it at the range. Who cares? It's good
Yeah.
malfunction training, you know?
Yeah, yeah,
So,
seriously. And that's what I've been doing too. And heck, today I got off somehow. I don't get off work early, man. We don't have short days. But at 1:45 we finished up the second job, and then my buddy said, "Hey, we're done." I said, "Really?" All right. Well, I'm going to the range. So I ran to the range, and I had a lot of malfunctions today. I grabbed the
oh,
other
wow.
box, which must have been the ones that I loaded first, and I had probably 7 or 8 malfunctions on like 300, 200 rounds or something like that. And I don't have that problem. So, it was, but I looked at it the same way. It was malfunction training. It was adaptability training at that time,
Yep.
variability. But like I load up my major ammo in the springtime. So like I have a like 3,000 can that I load up in the springtime, and like I load up 100, go to the range, test it, test everything about it, test it out all my
Mm,
guns, and then I load another 1,000, take those, test them again, make sure we're still good. Go to two, I do it again. Go to three, I do it again. And as long as I have a very tight consistency all the way through, if I have any sign of anything not being right, I will just take that next 1,000 and move it to practice ammo. But I load up all my major USPSA ammo at the beginning of the year. That way I know I never run into having to rush to make ammo before a major. But obviously, falling steel, it was like I'm coming down to staff and, it's just falling steel. It's not a big deal. Right. And even
As long
then,
as the
I won't
steel
ever,
falls.
right. And even then, I won't do that again because, yeah, it's not like it was aggravating or frustrating or nothing like that. It was not a big deal at all. Again, I still placed very well. I still shot very well. So at the end of the day, it was like not a big deal, but next time I will definitely. That was the first and only time I've ever taken unsure ammo to a match. That was the first time ever.
Mm.
Never done it before. And at least my PCC ran great because that was all match PCC ammo. But we're not going to talk about how many I left standing because I just was trying to get wild with my PCC. There was no vice. There was no pressure. I said, let's see how fast I can rip my pieces, see if I can be like Mark and Corey and Anthony and them. And heck, Jesse Misko showed up to this match. Wow. He's the one who's a 3-time RCSA and 8-time Steel Challenge world champ. And no one,
Okay.
everyone was like, who's this guy? Who's this guy? I'm like, that's Jesse Misko. Hold on. I start seeing people in a crowd looking at a video of him shooting stage 7. And I looked up to like, who, what was this guy's name? I'm like, you guys, he is an 8-time world champion. 8-time. He's best shooter on this range right now, like the most decorated shooter on this range. I am not surprised at all. He ran that stage that I did in like 10.47. Now he did it with a PCC with one mag, but I think he was done in 7:25, I believe was his time.
Wow.
Yeah. Significant.
33% or 30% faster.
Yep, and I was second place pistol on that one. Now we had a reload for pistol, but even then, like your PCC guys, and my PCC run on that one was phenomenal. That was my best PCC run, and I think I ran it in 9.2. He was 2 seconds faster, a whole 2 seconds. Wild. And he
Yeah.
shot the bottom like I did, and then came across the back. When I shot it with PCC, I went 1 2 3 3 2 1, 1 2 3 3 2 1. Way more efficient route, but it was not faster. That kid is crazy, man. He's got some
Mm.
skills.
All right.
But yeah, there's all kinds of sleepers like that in our sport. That's the thing everyone's got to realize. You never know anybody's true skill until you see it.
Or desire. I mean,
Yeah.
that's really what it comes down to. That
Yeah.
willingness to put in the work. I mean, if you have that desire, then there's nothing holding you back.
Yep. Exactly, man.
So, well, Alex, I
Exactly.
appreciate you coming back on. It's been a good conversation.
Always is, man. I'm super grateful you're able to get me on here and quickly too. Thank you
Yeah,
so much for all the support and the camaraderie as well throughout these years. And I'm really glad that I've gotten to continue building a relationship with you through this and giving me an opportunity to talk about, the things that I've been doing and will continue to try to make happen here. So thank you.
absolutely. And right back at you. It's always nice when we can, as a community, as we
Yeah.
talked earlier, we can all chat and share and not eat each other.
Yeah.
So
Let's stick together. We got to stick together. And
exactly.
we lead the charge by having long conversations like this and putting it out there and continuing to do so regularly. So I am also going to probably be starting a podcast here very soon as the phone call I got before this with my buddy who spent 10 years teaching ANA over in Afghanistan.
What
And
is
now he is
ANA? I don't
in
know what that is.
Afghani National Army.
Ah, okay.
Yeah. So he
All
basically
right.
he's the most experienced instructor I've ever known as far as he's taught more students than anybody. And we're just trying to get together and figure out a way once I get back from nationals to sit down and kind of start doing a little bit of a podcast that is strictly just something that has, he's a long time ex-military. And as the person in the group as the pro shooter, um, of the group, and then another guy who was, I believe, worked for agency. And basically, the point of it is for us to sit down and talk about how there's so much just division within our community. And then look, if the three of us can all prove that we can sit down and we're all the same mindset, we're all just the same people, we just do the same action in a different environment.
Different
We can,
walks of life. Yeah.
exactly, we can start
Yep.
working together more. And we lead, we lead by example by doing things like that. So
All
we'll
right,
see.
cool.
Yeah, man.
Well, good luck with your new podcast. What do you know what the name of it's going to be yet or?
I don't know yet. No, he
Okay.
just called me about it. He's been kind of poking at me for it for a bit now, and he is an extremely, extremely, extremely passionate human being like myself. Hell, there's anybody who is literally rooting, like screaming at the phone screen when he sees me succeed, it's him. You know what I mean? Just throwing a fist in the air because he believes in what, we do, and he really loves what we all do in this sport. And I'm trying to get him into it a little bit, but he's trying to get a master's degree right now. So as soon as we figure that out,
Oh,
I will let you know. Yeah, he's trying to get a master's. So it's kind of trying to figure out what we can do for the time being. And him
yep.
and I are definitely going to, I have some classes that I'm going to start really putting my classes out there a little bit more publicly. Up till now, it's been a lot of private stuff and a lot of like groups that are like, "Hey, we want to have you out." Um, but him with his experience and what I have, we're talking about trying to kind of reach out using his connections to the military. I taught the U.S. Army Reserve. I've taught some law enforcement departments as well. We're going to try and see if we can put our heads together and really go out there and try to touch as many people as we can. Obviously, not in a weird way. Uh, maybe a hand on the shoulder, saying it's safe or it's not. We'll clarify there. But yeah, we'll
Well,
see
if
if
you
we
guys
can't
tell
make
two
something
people
happen.
and they tell two friends and they tell two friends, you'll be good.
That's what I'm saying, man. So I'll let you know.
All right, man.
All right, brother.
Again, thanks, Alex. You be
You got it,
safe.
man. Thank you. All right. Bye.
Bye.